What's up, everybody? This is Politically Provoked. Tonight, it's myself, Brittany, and Andrew. I think Todd might join us midstream. Tonight's topic is unity and finding common ground and areas of agreement so we can, hey, Sean, so we can come together. Andrew, one of our discussions, you had said that we're at a point where in our country where Republicans and Democrats want to get divorced. So I hope that maybe we can overcome that. We can find areas of agreement. And I mean, we're only 3 people and the people watching, but maybe we can come up with some ideas and get those ideas flowing elsewhere on topics that we agree on. So with that, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. If Brittany, you want to go first? Okay, I don't think she hears me. Andrew, go ahead.
So I think it'd be a helpful exercise to try to pretend that just for the sake of this discussion, pretend that you guys are representative of all progressives and you're negotiating on their behalf, and that I'm representing all conservatives and I'm negotiating on their behalf.
That's good.
And then we can kind of see what we can come up with as far as anything that we can agree on. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So first of all, I think I've been thinking about this on and off all week. And I think that the things that we can probably agree the most on would be financial issues.
Uh-huh.
I even think that we can probably find common ground on healthcare, but I don't think we can find common ground on social issues.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
So to start with financial things, some things I think you could find agreement with conservatives on is conservatives seem to be pretty war weary. They seem to want to pull our troops out from overseas. That's something they seem to be fairly supportive of now. And that used to be a pretty progressive thing to do. Progressives used to be fairly anti-war. So I think we could probably come to some agreement on that.
Yeah, no, I think, I think I've said that the issues that I think we could find common ground on are probably the economy, maybe even the environment. And there was one more that I believe that we're able to find, and healthcare. And then the issues that I don't think conservatives and liberals will be able to find any commonality is abortion, probably, I mean, immigration, I'm not entirely sure. I bet like there can be some give and take there, and guns, because I think all 3 of those drive an emotional response, and that makes it harder to find some commonality. But with the other stuff, we all need, healthcare. We all benefit from the economy. We all need a clean environment. So I think those are things that we could find things to agree on. And the social issues, I believe, are the only things that keep us from being able to do that.
Well, with immigration, though, immigration is a social issue and a fiscal issue.
Yeah, but I still think that even though it's a social issue, I think that there are probably ways to find some common ground on it, even if like where we give up and you guys give up, neither of us might be happy or sad, or we just both kind of give and take a bit on it. I think
well, then let's start with immigration.
Okay.
So essentially the right-wing position on this is that they don't mind having immigrants come in, but they need to come in legally, and you need to set a cap on how many come in yearly, and you need to essentially vet them for skilled versus unskilled. Mm-hmm. And do you guys have issues with that?
I mean,
my stance more so on immigration is I feel like, well, especially in California, I feel like we're a little bit too overpopulated. That's the only reason I would have, I would be more hesitant to letting, like having open borders and stuff. Like I wouldn't care who's coming in, but I think we're just really overpopulated. So I think we just have different motives on why we want certain immigration policies.
So look at California. That's a good example. So I grew up in Northern California, and that wasn't too long ago that that I left California. You're talking about, let's see, 17, 18 years, something in there. So it wasn't that long ago. The major metropolitan areas of California are certainly overpopulated. Probably one of the areas that you're in is a metropolitan area, but most of California is actually sparsely populated. Most of our produce for the entire United States comes from California, from the farmland that's there. It's a massive, massive state. So it's also a prime exporter. The thing you got to look at with California is you have a few pointed cities that, yeah, sure, they're overpopulated. Most cities are. But as far as immigration coming in, you're making a good point there. Are you saying that you think that those cities are overpopulated because there's lots of immigrants there? Or?
No, I'm not sure why we are so overpopulated, but I know that we are very overpopulated in California, and there's not even enough housing, which is just driving the cost up for everyone else. So I'm not sure if that's the reason why we're overpopulated or not. I just know that we have a lot of people living here, and they need to get into the rest of the country.
Well, I mean, that's a prime area for immigration, California,
Right.
Especially illegal immigration. It also has a very, very, very large welfare recipient population. So there's a lot of incentives to go to California, whereas there's not a lot of incentives to go to a lot of different states that don't give any type of incentive via welfare or welfare programs. So the question again becomes, it's like, if we're going to talk about immigration, we're going to talk about immigrants coming in, there needs to be a process that's in place, which there is, where you only come in legally. But right now, there's no repercussions if you don't, at least not with the people coming in from south of the border. So what would your proposition be for those people who are coming in? Because right now, if conservatives propose that we enforce the laws that we have on the book, the first thing that we hear is you're trying to separate, families. You're trying to do, what about the refugees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we come up with a cap?
Well, I feel like almost Trump kind of set us back in being able to have some kind of comprehensive immigration reform because, like Democrats did support, some fencing in certain areas and stuff, and that was okay. But when the way Trump has gone about it is he's turned this into such a hot button issue where everything seems, to be coming from a really bad place, and it's hard to even take any steps forward as a result of that, because now everything we do, we feel like it's going to be viewed as racist because of how Trump went about this.
Okay, well, you can't say it's racist to want to deport Mexicans because they're not a race. So they're a nationality. So there's no race involved there. They're a country that's next door, and there's people who are coming in from the country next door. And we need to either be able to keep tabs on these people or outright reject them from coming in, which is a doable thing. But the backlash seems to come from the left on having a more lax immigration policy, not from the right.
Mm-hmm.
My take on immigration is, if you want to enforce harsher immigration laws, you first need to allow the immigrants that are here already to stay, and then implement the laws. Obviously, if you're caught for, I think if you have a green card, I'm not 100% sure, but I think if you have a green card and you commit like a felony, you can be deported. So if you're a criminal and you're already given your what's the word I'm looking for? Your citizenship, sorry. Then that loophole with the green card and being able to deport if you don't follow laws would cover that. And then, we can talk about what do we do. I do think that, we should, I know a lot of the other Western countries, they do have certain guidelines. Like if you have a trade that's in need, you get put on the front of the list of immigration status. Like I know Canada has it, New Zealand, Australia, England, Germany, France. So like, most of, the world that we do most of our dealings with, they have those kind of immigration policies. So I think if we implement something similar to that, that would be fair.
Well, let's back up because we're trying to look for points of agreement, right?
Mhm.
So let's look at a point maybe we can all agree on. Did you guys know that you can buy United States citizenship?
To some extent, I did.
No, it's not to some extent. You can just buy it with cash. It's 100% accurate. It's $1 million, and you can just buy a citizenship.
Yeah,
mean,
Joe Biden's new cabinet member was selling them. The guy who took over for Homeland Security, he was selling them to rich China people. So yeah, I was aware.
You really can. It's not in Canada. You can do the same thing. You just buy a citizenship outright.
Who are you giving the money to?
It's a little less money. You give it right to the Treasury, I believe.
Oh,
I believe you give it right to the Treasury. So
Never heard of that.
the question becomes is, you don't want to have a system where you have people who are legally waiting in line, right? And they can just be bypassed by some rich foreign national to just be able to buy a citizenship. We can probably agree that that's not a good idea, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, if they are able to spend that kind of money to immigrate, like they clearly, well, they'll be taxpayers and would be contributing quite a bit to the economy.
Well, you can buy a U.S. citizenship, though, and never actually live in the United States and never pay a dime in taxes to the United States. The reason that you probably shouldn't be able to buy a citizenship, I would think, is because you wouldn't want other countries to be able to put plants in here for subterfuge just because you can pay $1 million to the Treasury, right? That just seems like it's not a wise idea to me.
The only reason why I would be okay with it is because we do have a massive debt problem. So anything that we can do to help reduce that debt, I'm okay with. But let me see who said it. Yeah, Sean said, once again, this is a class issue. So yeah, I mean, you still have to have policies in place where you're not being selective on, just the rich come and just the college educated come. You need to have, we're a country of diverse people. We need to keep it that way.
Okay, and that's fine. So give me a number of how many.
What's the number now?
What,
There is no set
illegals? Yeah, it's between 11 million and 22 million illegals
A year?
that are here. No, that are here currently.
Oh,
So
no.
I
How,
don't know. Well, what do we do with those though? Again, Justin just said we just give them all blanket amnesty. So,
Yeah, and then
so what does that do to the deficit that you care about? It's just weird.
now they're
because,
tax-paying citizens.
yeah, it's funny, and the drain that is on. I mean, I think, and I'd have to quote. I didn't even know what the subject would be tonight, or I'd have these numbers ready. I mean, the drain that illegal immigration has on this country is in the billions. And we can Google it, but again,
Right, but you're talking about illegal immigration. I'm saying make the illegal immigrants that are here now legal, and now they're tax-paying citizens and they're contributing the same as everybody else. But there's other like loopholes. It's not just a drain on society. It's actually there's ways that it's beneficial too. But
they hop the line, right? They hop the line.
Yeah, they do hop the line.
They hop the line. So the thing is like that's not fair to anybody. So you don't get to hop the line, and then there's just nothing. So fine, let's do this with DACA. How's this for an agreement? If you want to stay here under the DACA Act, you pay twice the taxes of an American citizen that's here right now.
I don't know that I agree with that because we already have a pretty high tax rate.
That's the penalty for hopping the line. So it's a give and take, like you say, right? You get something, we get something. So if we want to de-incentivize people from coming here, because if they just stay for 15 years, they're going to get another blanket amnesty. If there's enough of them, then why not implement a double tax system on them?
Actually, it's not. I mean, I'm not completely opposed to it. I mean, I would need more information, but I am not completely opposed to that. Actually, I'm
I'm 100% opposed to that.
not.
You want to double their taxes?
I'm
Well,
thinking. I
We
mean,
already pay like close to
I wouldn't
40%
call
in
it,
taxes.
Everything works on incentives, right? Everything
So
works on
how? I
incentives.
mean, but for how long? Like how long are we talking?
I just told you, make it 10 years.
So
That they would-
for 10 years, they have to pay.
They have to
How are
pay
they
double
supposed
the
to-
income. They have to pay double the income tax and double the corporate tax if they start a business.
well, they're not allowed
So they-
to. They're not allowed to get any benefits. The people with DACA, they have to pay taxes. They can't receive any kind of benefits.
But
So-
okay, so we give them the full benefits of the citizenship
Uh-huh.
as long as they pay double the taxes of a current American citizen as a penalty for jumping the line.
Right. Mm.
So you can't give them blanket amnesty for nothing because you're just encouraging more people to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, Stacey has a good point. She said that's how people start working illegally. That's actually a great point. So then you're
I
not
don't know
really
what she
you're not
means.
really fixing the problem. If the purpose is to get them to be citizens so that they're paying taxes and they're not being the drain or whatever you want to call it, that you can't undo that. But I wouldn't be opposed to maybe a small tax increase for a short amount of time, but double, that's crazy. Like I think the corporate income tax or the corporate tax right now is 35%. So you're saying
15. It's 15%.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
or 7. Trump lowered it by 15%. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
But it's much lower than 30%.
okay. So then basically they would be paying what they were paying pre-Trump if that were to stay. But that's not going to be what it is once Biden's president. He's going to probably put it back up to 35%. So I don't know how I feel about that. It almost makes it impossible to start a business.
Well, that's what it is. It's a penalty. So you're the thing is you can't say it's fair for you guys to stay. We've got millions of people backlogged, right? Millions and millions of people backlogged. You guys can't hop your place in line here and then expect to come in with no penalty because if we give them blanket amnesty, there's nothing stopping the next crew from doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, well, Caleb said something. If you want to pull that comment back up, they have to make sure that they have a job, they are either going to school, and they can't have any kind of criminal record, or they're dropped from it. So if anything, you would think the DACA program is exactly what you would want. It's
Hold
like
on. Let's not conflate the two things. There's a
Okay.
difference between DACA and illegal immigrants.
right.
What his position was that he wanted to give all illegal immigrants a blanket amnesty, not just DACA recipients.
Oh, I don't know about that. I was thinking DACA is what I was assuming that we would meant
Yeah,
by.
so those are two separate issues. So when we're talking about DACA,
Mhm.
right, you can do the same thing with DACA, and it wouldn't be the worst idea. The only problem there is you'd have to probably come up with some kind of modified penalty because some of them have been here since they were kids.
Right.
So that's not their fault, right? But the adults who brought them here, I don't see any reason why we don't impose the penalty on them.
Yeah, I feel like that should be something. I think it's kind of in the DACA as well as when they came here between a certain age or time, I think it was. I think that needs to play a role. Like if you were brought here, under the age of 18 by your parents, then you shouldn't really pay any kind of penalty for it. Perhaps the parents that decided to come or at a certain time, then maybe they might pay a penalty.
Right. What I'm talking about, you don't have to be 100% specific on what the penalty is going to be, right? But as a suggestion, what I'm saying is there has to be some type of penalty to incentivize people to not come here illegally,
Right.
right? If you just give them benefits, especially from the public trough through welfare, food stamps, these types of programs that are available to them, that's not doing anything except handing incentives out for people to essentially break the law. And I don't think that that's wise. It's much wiser to have an incentive program where they don't break the law. That's the government's use of force is only good if it's based around incentivizing or de-incentivizing behavior. That's the full power of the federal government is really best used that way.
Yeah, I'm not completely opposed to what you're. I mean, I think putting them in the DACA program, and with certain stipulations with when they came or how old they came.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, DACA, like I said, DACA already has where you can't get any benefits and you have to have a job or go to school and you're paying taxes, and so I mean that's pretty much what we would want, I would think.
Right.
But, no, I get.
So that maybe is a point that we can find some agreement on. Not necessarily that they have to pay a double tax, right, Justin? But that maybe that some type of penalty should be in order before we hand out an amnesty to 11 million people, so that we don't just have a repeat of it 15 years down the road.
I want the remittances tax whack too. And I'm not pro taxes, but there's a lot of remittance. I believe in March of this year, $4 billion alone went to Mexico. Money that left America from even legals, illegals. So, I mean, I guess the legals, we shouldn't whack them, but any illegal that's sending money back over, El Salvador, Mexico, I want that whack too. So again, it will de-incentivize an action that's been going on.
Or perhaps, if you think about it, if they are sending money over, that maybe stops more people from coming. They're helping them stay in their country.
How are we going to prove that? Like you said, when you incentivize, why? Because they have families. I don't know.
No, I'm saying why else would they be sending the money there? If they. Most of the males who come here without their family are coming for jobs. They're not escaping dictatorial, dictators or any kind of, penalties. They're coming here for work. So, again, they're just here because there's better opportunities. They're not escaping a dictatorship or, so again, we're the only country that puts up with that. Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
So you just highlighted two issues, Todd. So you have people that are seeking amnesty, and then the economic situation. And I think we've actually talked about this on one of the previous podcasts, where we start, doing more trade with some of these countries that a lot of these people are migrating from. So they have more incentive to stay in their country. I know, like for example, Brazil is extremely corrupt. So maybe we can work something out with their government and some trade deals and make them so you can get other countries to implement new laws through trade deals. So you're going to say, like, okay, you're not going to have any child labor, that kind of thing, and you implement that into the trade deal. So that's one way of doing it for sure.
Wait, Andrew, is he talking? Because I can't hear him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had my mic muted. I said, why should we be incentivizing other nations to make their citizens behave in regards to our laws? Our federal government should be incentivizing our people and not incentivizing people from foreign nations. Well, it's not our duty to prop up the health of the world. It's our duty to prop up the health of our own people.
Well, you can do both.
Sure, but like you said, exactly. You guys want Medicare for all, so you can't do both, because we can't even do it here. So no, we can't play Superman for the world.
Well,
that's the failed veil of globalism. And
if you're trying to keep other countries more stabilized, it's going to stop them from fleeing to our country.
It hasn't worked. And how long have we been doing that?
You can't.
So whether we're toppling regimes and doing coups, and I believe in 1953 was the first coup. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I know. But Andrew's right. I mean, like I said,
but can't trade deals be just as weaponized as our military? I think they can be. In fact, I think that we can economically sanction countries and bring them to their knees a lot easier than if we sent in the U.S. Army.
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying. Yeah. So what I'm saying here is look, our federal government needs to have a strong policy of incentivizing United States citizens to be as prosperous as possible. Their policy shouldn't be to take their citizens' money and give them to non-citizens. That's not what the policy should be. That's not how strong governments work, and that's not working for its constituency anyhow. You know, the way that this is all set up is your local constituency sends you up to be the representative voice. So what we want is what's best for our personal communities, right? And in some of your communities, it may be a good idea to have a lot of DACA labor, right? I've seen that, especially in California, where Brittany's at. It's a good idea to have a lot of foreign labor coming in to work those fields and things like this. I don't disagree that that's true, but there's a lot of areas where giving economic incentive for illegals to come in literally will bankrupt your local economy. You got to have strong localized policies for incentives for your own citizenry. And you guys are talking about propping up Brazil. I don't care
That was
about
just an
Brazil.
example.
Well, right. But I'm just saying, you know, I don't care about propping up Brazil. I care about propping up, Michigan. I care about propping up Wisconsin. I don't care about propping up Brazil.
So wait, so Andrew, so say that we did do some kind of tax increase for, like what we discussed. Would you be open to giving all the undocumented immigrants, basically letting them in the DACA program?
You mean all the ones that are currently here?
Yeah.
Okay, if you were to subtract out the ones that have been guilty of felonies, crimes, and the ones that are in the prison system, then I think that you could probably get something like that negotiated fairly easily. I think that if you show the right the incentives that will come to them and the disincentives that will come in the future to people who want to come and not obey the law, that you can negotiate a deal fairly easily that way.
Right. And and also because a lot of times when they say, that they broke the law that they broke was just, coming into the country. Like, I'm hoping you're not meaning that as.
Well, that is a law, though.
That is a law.
U.S. Code
But
1325.
But it's more importantly, it's like, okay, so you say, well, the law is no big deal. It's just a little petty misdemeanor, kind of the same as a traffic ticket. I've heard that from the left a lot. But the ramifications of allowing people to skip in front of other people is morally reprehensible, one. And the second reprehensible part of the entire thing is the cost and burden that happens to the United States population currently, having to basically supplement these people's very existence. And it's ridiculous. And that shouldn't happen. There's no reason you should be taxed to supplement foreign citizens. No reason at all.
You know what I think also, because a lot of places in Europe and stuff, they have a lot stricter immigration laws, but they're also, they have so many different countries right next to each other. I think that makes more sense. We are in the middle of two countries, and maybe that has been a reason why we just never really cracked.
Well, but the EU immigration policies didn't work out very well and led to Brexit. Right. So the problem you have in the EU is, for the most part, if you would have kept the EU where it was mostly homogenous, they're culturally very similar, right? They're all culturally very similar. Not all of them, but most of them are. So when they had open borders, it wasn't really a big deal. What happened was, when they started importing people from the Muslim nations, they didn't integrate that well. And the Somalians didn't integrate that well. And it pissed the locals off. And that was the primary motivator for Brexit.
I think a lot of what happened in Europe also kind of is our fault. We destroyed the Middle East, and, we left them to clean up the mess we made, basically.
They don't have to clean up the mess. That's the whole point here, right? You can go blow a country to shit and then do nothing for them. It's you know what I mean? You don't have to go rebuild it. It's not necessary. If you destroy your enemies, you don't have to rebuild their civilization. It's not necessary to do.
So two things really quick that I want to get to, or actually three things. So Caleb had this comment. He said, statistically, they give more than they put out. They pay taxes for programs they are literally not allowed to touch, which is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's give it to them. It's still morally reprehensible that they took somebody else's spot.
right?
So what do you
But-
say to
and then
that?
that's
There's
the
nothing to say
second.
to that.
And there's studies that show it's like 750 billion. Now, of course, studies, everybody's going to have different numbers, but yeah, it's like 750 billion over a 10-year period to drain on illegals. And that's from Cato. So I'll find it if anybody wants it. But again,
But
like I
Todd,
said,
I mean, you're right. Let's assume. Let's just give it to them, though, just for the sake of argument here. If we're negotiating, let's just give them that as a fact. Let's just say it's a fact that immigrants and illegal immigrants produce more into the system than they take back out of the system. Okay, fine. It's still morally reprehensible to take somebody else's legal spot in line, and that's really all you need to know. There doesn't need to be any more than that.
What Lamar had said, he said that, well, let me find the comment. He said, skipping to the front of the line is the American way, which is kind of true. And then there was one last comment that I wanted to get to.
You know, I don't think it is, and I don't agree with that statement at all. Look, we live in a society based around what's called spontaneous order. You get in a movie theater line, and there's no sign that says you have to, but you still get in it, and you stand in it, and you wait your turn to get your tickets, and then you go in and you see the movie. And if somebody cuts in the line, there's 3 people ready to kick his ass, right? Or 3 people who are upset by this.
But what
So
about
no,
the guy that pays for the fast pass?
You know, well, but the guy paid for the fast pass, right? That's what I'm saying. It's like he's not skipping the line.
So you're okay with the $1 million entry, as long as they actually come here, right?
No, I don't think that it's a good idea to have the $1 million entry, not because I don't think that it's a morally reprehensible thing for the United States government to offer it. I don't like it because it opens up avenues for subterfuge.
Okay.
It's unwise to allow your enemies, like China, who is an enemy of the United States and never think that they aren't, to just pay $1 million to give their national citizenry here. That's absurd. Why in the world would any country ever do that? That's absurd.
although Biden's cabinet pick actually was doing that, that Spanish guy, I'll bring his name up. So he literally was doing that. So I just want to keep rubbing in the cabinet. The Biden cabinet.
One more question on this topic, and then let's find another area. Let's wrap this one up, and then we'll try to find another area. But so Sean wants to know, Todd, if we shut down undocumented immigration completely, you'd be okay with Medicare for all. Is that like
Again, I
give and
told
take
you
that we can
have
do?
No, I told you we got to figure out to pay it. So you guys are saying we want Medicare for all, and we want to let everybody in the country without having any kind of guardrails.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on our first chat, how with Elizabeth Warren's plan, the only way she was going to be able to have the healthcare plan was with comprehensive immigration reform, which, I mean, it does make sense because we would be struggling to pay for it just for American citizens, like giving it to undocumented immigrants. I'm not on board with that, honestly. And in every other country that has healthcare, that gives healthcare, they don't provide long-term healthcare to people that are not living there. So, I mean, I understand. I feel like to get healthcare, Bernie's two biggest things that would make it nearly impossible to pass was, providing it to undocumented immigrants and abolishing the private sector. I think if you remove those two things, I think a lot of people would be on board with it.
Does
Look,
anyone know what Cloward Piven is? This is exactly what's happening in this country. Google it real quick. It was two socialists or whatever you want to call them that came up with. They're trying to bankrupt us by flooding our borders and a bunch of shitty trade deals and shit. So anyway, Medicare for all these things. So yeah, go ahead, Andrew. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, you're good, Todd. I was just saying, look, from my standpoint, okay, what you guys consider universal health care is inevitable. Okay, I accept that it's an inevitable reality. That is the way you'll find in most democratic systems. Something like this is going to eventually become a reality because people realize that they can vote whatever they want out of the Treasury. And in this case, if they want to vote out of the Treasury for their health care, they're going to do it. So I don't think that there's any stopping that at this point. So if what his proposition was, Mr. Cicero's proposition was, hey, if we put a total freeze on immigration, would you be all for universal health care? Sure, I would concede to that in a heartbeat, because otherwise the alternative is we'll end up having universal health care anyway. We just won't be able to sustain it long term.
Well, I thought actually it was really, I think the most surprising thing from our first chat was when you were talking about how you would consider voting for Warren. I found that really intriguing, actually.
Only because, again, but remember my caveat was Trump was far superior because of social issues.
Right.
Warren's fiscal plan was good.
Right.
Warren's fiscal plan was good. I liked her fiscal plan. I liked the fact that she was the first politician in a long time who wanted to do any type of comprehensive immigration reform that made sense.
Right.
Okay, but her constituency didn't want it. Liberals, progressives don't want that, or they would have voted her through in the primaries. They didn't want anything to do with that.
Maybe they're sexist. Maybe that's why they didn't vote for women. I just wanted to throw that out there too. Maybe they're misogynist. Anyway, carry on.
Right. So the thing is like, look, the way that I look at it is these are all inevitabilities, right? It's going to happen. Some form of universal healthcare is going to happen because we already have a form of universal healthcare now for the poor, right? It already exists. People take advantage of it, and it's a logical next step that this is going to get pushed through. So if all we can get out of this is to at least in some way make this sustainable and to incentivize our own people at the same time, well, that's what negotiating is.
Yeah, you seem open to healthcare. Like I picked up on that from our first chat, especially.
It's not a terrible idea if it's done right.
Right.
There's nothing constitutionally prohibiting it. Okay. The only thing that you run into the problem with is, like Todd continuously keeps beating you over the head with, this one problem that you have, which is you can't have unfettered immigration and then provide them unlimited amounts of the public trough's money. You just can't do that. It's morally reprehensible, and it's not fiscally sustainable.
Yeah, like Pete had his plan was, the Medicare for all who want, basically you would automatically enroll you into Medicare for all. You could opt out of it, and you would be able to keep the private sector as well, which I think you need almost as a backup, because I think for healthcare, nothing's going to be instantly perfect. It's going to take a while for us to sustain it and, just get it going. And if it's not instantly perfect, conservatives will leap on that, and, we'd be screwed. So I think the Medicare for all who want, that's the policy I support. His plan also was able to reduce the deficit by, I think, $450 billion. I don't know. I think that's going to be our next step. I think the only way we'd ever even get to a single payer is by starting with that. Well,
look, you gotta set on the ground floor a fact right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're never going to be able to reduce the deficit ever. That ship has sailed.
No, we have. You mean the debt?
I'm sorry, the debt. Okay, ever. You're never going to be able to reduce the debt again, ever. It's not ever going to happen because the interest rates that are on it are way too high, and they're always going to be sustained forevermore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only way that you could shrink that is by doing things you guys would never agree to in a million years. Okay. That's just a fact. Okay. So you have to start with the groundwork of what is a fact. The fact is that the debt right now is going to continue to increase. Okay. Deficit spending is going to probably increase also. The best that we can do is end up with a cultural stalemate and a fiscal stalemate. That's it. You're going to get universal health care. That's going to happen. We all know that that's going to happen. There's nothing that can be done really to stop it at this point. But there are some things that we can still do, likely, to at least make the burden not so terrible on everybody, which would include shutting down mass immigration. Now, I'm not talking about all immigration, okay, but mass importation of humanity is not a good idea if you're offering to provide for all of their healthcare services and subsidize them. It's just not a good idea. And you don't have to be a smart person to know that that's not a good idea.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I don't support giving undocumented immigrants free healthcare. I think, that also can be what the private sector is for, where they can pay into it. I think it's going to be a really steep hill to climb to even be able to afford it for ourselves. And so, yeah, I those are some of the things like
put a cap. So put a cap. All you got to do to solve that problem is put a cap on the amount of immigrants you allow in yearly. That's it. Done. Now you can adjust for the normal population growth of our society, and you can come up mathematically with what that cap needs to be. But you have to cap it because you can't afford to subsidize the entire world and keep the living standards that we have now. It's not doable.
Right. And I would be open to a cap as long as we, for the people that are living here now, we're able to put them in the DACA and have a pathway to citizenship for them. But for future migration, I would be open to something like that.
Yeah, and DACA is just the kids, right? We're not talking about the 50 and 60-year-olds that are here already illegally. Well, no,
right? I'm talking about anybody, all the undocumented immigrants that are living here currently, that we give a pathway to citizenship and make them, tax-paying citizens. But other than criminals or stuff like that, and like Andrew was talking about before, maybe for people that came here, a while back, like the parents that came here, maybe increasing their taxes somewhat, or some kind of consequence. Or
so blank. Right. So a pathway to citizenship for all the illegals, which is between 11 to 22 million. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. It could actually be far more than that, but
nobody knows. That's the problem.
Right. Nobody knows. But the problem that we have currently, and I'm sure Todd knows this as much as Brittany knows it, is that nobody's doing a damn thing about it. So if you want something to be done about a problem like this, you have to offer something and then take something in exchange. Now, the only thing that I can think of to get in exchange is a double tax or a heftier tax increase to de-incentivize more people from coming in. Now, you can throw all the people currently in out, but the second you move the administrations around, that policy will change and be flipped on its head. So it's not going to be sustainable to do it either way.
Well, Andrew, and here's what we said last week. I had to cut out. But did you see the Mike Lee bill that went through this week that allowed, I forget how many H1N1 visas to end? I don't believe any Republican even voted against it. Mike Lee is actually a Republican. So we're increasing Indians and, their white collar jobs, supposedly. Like, isn't there Americans? I mean, we have 19 million people that lost their jobs. I'm sure we can find Americans to take those jobs. Anyway, so Republicans don't really fight for, we're conservatives. We're not really Republican. At least I'm not. So I thought you said the same thing.
Well, the Republican Party's finished.
Right.
It's done.
Yeah,
Trump killed it. Yeah, what this fight's about now, this fight's about globalism and nationalism. That's what it's about.
I'm on team nationalism.
Okay, so that's what we're fighting about. The very first suggestions that Justin gave in this conversation for stopping unfettered immigration into the United States wasn't to secure our own borders or to come up with policies, but rather it was to go and embolden and bolster other nations at our expense. Now
I'm working on that. I'm working
Trade
on
deals are not at our expense. That's
I'm going to flip him. So we're gonna flip him to our side soon. So it's going to take it's probably going to take 6 months of direct everyday contact, but I'm going to flip him to team nationalism. So anyway, go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'm just saying that's kind of the mindset that I run into with people who have a globalist mentality, is that we're all in this together. but we're not all in this together. I'm concerned about my own citizenry. I'm not so concerned about the world's citizenry.
But I think it's kind of funny when you guys talk about nationalism like that, and yet they use the socialism boogeyman because Democrats want healthcare, yet that makes us commies or whatever. But nationalism to me just seems either like isolationism, and it means like at the expense of everyone else. And I think in a country as diverse as ours, that hurts American citizens as well. You hurt, Mexican Americans who are going to be dealing with a lot of the stuff as a result of, way we're treating Mexico. Or I don't know. I just think
Yeah, but globalism are like, we got our fingers in shit we don't need to have our fingers in. Just like Libya. Libya, even though Gaddafi was horrible, what we left in Libya was far. You can buy someone for $400 now. Today in 2020, you can buy an African and you can do pretty much what you want with them for 400 US. So again, did we help those people by getting involved in their shit? I don't think so. They would probably disagree. So again,
it's not just that, but look at the scale.
Nationalism.
Yeah, but look at the scales, right? So what you're saying essentially is, if these guys are here and we're here, we want it to be more like this, right? We want it to be more like this because what we're doing is at somebody else's expense in order to keep us up here and them down here, right? But see, I don't care. I want to keep us up here regardless of where it ends up putting other nations.
So
now, I know that that's mean, but that is the human condition. Unfortunately, the human condition is that we all have to fight for survival. That is an imperative that's inside of us. And worrying about what cheeseburger I buy today might affect the Brazilian or the Nicaraguan is not on my high level on my list of concerns.
what do you mean by, okay, you want to keep us up here? What does that mean?
It means that in the United States, our standard of living is extraordinarily high. It's extraordinarily high, especially in comparison to a lot of the third world countries that you want to do this mass importation from. Okay. Just because you bring people in from the third world, we don't have magic dirt. Okay. You don't just touch it and suddenly you become an American and you have the same standard of living that we fought generationally to get. Okay, you're going to end up, no matter what, the progressive policies always will bring the standard of living down in order to accommodate the lowest common denominator every single time. I'm not concerned with the lowest common denominator.
Why do you think we are bringing the standard of living down? I don't know where that comes from.
Because when you bring people in who are unskilled, they almost always are subsidized by the federal government on your citizens' dime. A good example of this is something you guys bitch about constantly, which is that Walmart subsidizes its workers using the federal government because they won't pay them a living wage. Well, they can only do that by taking advantage of low-income workers who are unskilled. So why would you want to import unskilled workers? It's insane.
I think... Go ahead, Justin.
Go ahead, Brittany.
No, go ahead.
So the whole nationalism, globalism thing, that debate's long gone. There's nothing you can do. You can try to stop it. You can try to slow it down. We're already a global economy. And I can give you an example of that. Auto manufacturers. So a lot of auto manufacturers have plants here in the US, right? So when we implement tariffs on like a Japanese automaker and they have a plant here in the US, well, guess what happens? The plant in the US still has to pay those tariffs. And then the American workers that work in that plant end up getting laid off.
Yeah, but so what? Who cares about a global economy? We've always had a global economy. We've always been able to import and export. We're talking about global governance. We're not talking about global economies. Okay? We're talking about global governance. And the problem that you have right now is
same thing though, because the economy and the government essentially go hand in hand.
Well, so what? But they can be separate from each other as far as global economics goes, right? Private businesses can make their own deals with Japan, and the government can decide what the tariffs are going to be. They don't have to have any type of global governance to do that. when you guys are talking about globalism, you're not talking about global economies. Okay, you're talking about something that's more similar to what the EU was. That was more of the progressive dream.
I mean, ultimately, that's what's going to happen. So
Well,
all you're
it's
doing is slowing down that process. Yes,
It's
it
not
is.
what's going to happen. What happens historically is that you can only get so large. You think global governance has never been tried before? It's been done. It's been done more times than you can count. Rome was a global government. Okay, they fall, and then you end up with nations again. It's a cycle. It's cyclical. Getting rid of the nation, just by doing it a better way this time, it will always cyclically come back because empires collapse. It's what they do.
Yeah, but I think that what a lot of people are talking about with globalism and nationalism is completely different than what you're referring to, and maybe it's,
Like I said,
it's part of the, but maybe it's part of the fear mongering and the fear tactics that's involved.
you're just trying to do it in a different way, but it's the same thing. Just because you put a different color of drapes on the window, it's still the same window, man. It's what I'm telling you. It's like, look, you want an EU style for the entire world, okay? Unfettered access, unfettered open borders between nations, right? We all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works. People have unique differences, and they can hate each other over absolutely nothing or over absolutely everything. The nation exists for the same reason that your walls in your house exist, because not everybody in the world is trustworthy, and not everybody in the world is worth doing business with, and not everybody in the world is somebody who should be brought into your global community.
Honestly, for me, I would feel safer with the people coming in from Mexico than I would the people leaving a Trump rally. Like a lot of those people, they.
But why? But why? Has anybody from a Trump rally come and smacked you in the face before?
A lot of the people that a lot of these undocumented immigrants, I mean, the crime rate's a lot lower with undocumented immigrants. They're trying to stay under the radar. They're not.
And Trump supporters?
And Trump
Are
supporters.
you kidding me? Not
that's
one
ridiculous.
building has been burned. Not one building has been burned
I'm
since
talking
the election.
I'm talking.
You said you wouldn't trust people leaving a Trump rally.
Let me finish.
I will.
I'm talking about just America. Are you still talking? I'm talking about American citizens versus undocumented immigrants. Like I said Trump supporters just, like in jest, but not really. But I would feel less concerned with the people that are trying to stay under the radar than I am with some of these people running around with their guns and talking about civil wars and all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, but that's not unique to the right. Okay, that's not unique to the right. Progressives have had civil wars plenty of times. The right-wing fascists have had civil wars before. These are not unique concepts to the political ideology. If you go too far to the right, you end up with problems. And if you go too far to the left, you end up with problems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, oftentimes, as Jordan Peterson has stated many times, and it's one of the things he says I actually agree with.
He's brilliant.
He says often that if you go too far to the right, it's obvious. If you go too far to the left, it's less obvious. Okay? And so mitigating the damage the left does is much harder to do because it's less obvious when you go too far left.
Yes.
In this case, erasing nationalism is also erasing identity. Okay? I'm an American and I like being an American. I don't want to be part of a global system or a global government, even if the boons of that would be better than if I just stayed an American. And I don't see why there's a problem with that. We're tribal by nature.
Yeah, see, for me, I think when people say like the far left and the far right, I think of it as more of a behavior and less about the policies that they're supporting.
I agree.
Like this summer, I mean, it should be a prime example of the far left's behavior. How much damage was done this summer? And like I said, since the election, we haven't touched shit. I don't think we've broken a window. Yeah, so again,
why would you?
Well, you just said you were scared of us. You said in jest, but not really. So you're worried about us walking around with guns. The NFAC is the only one shooting people. They're actually shooting their own members. So they've had 2 accidental discharges. those of us with guns, we understand trigger discipline. We understand how not to shoot ourselves or shoot other people.
Okay.
So, well,
So,
Go ahead.
so I think, this is what I always say, like, nationalism is dangerous, patriotism is okay. Like, you can be proud of, being an American without having to be like complete nationalist and say that we need to have these strong borders and we need to have strong immigration policies and we need to
Then
put
how
up
do
a
you have a-
wall.
Then how do you have a
We need
nation?
to have tariffs so other countries are hurt economically, even though it doesn't even work.
Part of being a nation is having an identity. That's part of it.
and a border and national sovereignty. I
So-
don't understand.
I guess I'll put it like this. So the Church of England, they believe the king and the queen. They are the king and the queen because God picked them to be the king and the queen. So I'll make the equivalence of this. So it's almost like because we were born in America, God picked us to be in America, and screw the rest of the world if they don't have living situations and circumstances that are sustainable.
Well, but at what point do you put the blame on the person instead of putting the blame on people who have nothing to do with it?
And I do feel like we hit the lottery. When you're born in America, you hit the lottery. Absolutely. It's called America. It's called America.
Like some people just honestly have a fucked up culture, man. They have a messed up culture. And that's not anybody's fault except their own fault. Now there's some cases where you can make great arguments for, well, gee, these American imperialists came in and fucked everything up. Yeah, that's happened, right? It's happened with every major nation that's ever existed. At what point, though, do you look at some cultures and just say, hey, man, you're a bunch of backward assholes and you need to stop doing what you're doing, and not give them money out of the public trough for continuing to do that? That just seems silly to me.
I don't know. I don't think somehow we got off.
We did.
So we started with unity.
We
and
always
now we're-
do. We always do, though. That's the good thing about doing this. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no script. We could script it before we came on, and it would be perfect. So, I'd rather have it be,
I think-
natural. And
I think it's a
flowing.
good discussion.
Well, let's move over to something that I think we can all agree on, right?
All right, what's that?
Okay, so one of the things that I think maybe we can agree on is that nobody wants the government in their bedroom, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if we can all agree on that, isn't it a wise idea to get rid of marriage licensing from the state?
Well, then how would you take care of things like benefits?
You can take care of things like benefits without having a marriage license from the state.
Sure,
We-
but
What are you proposing here?
Well, what I'm saying is that part of the reason that you have such a in my opinion, a screwy, lopsided result for marriage now, where you have so many divorces that happen, is because you have a benefits package essentially that the government puts down to protect the person who wants the divorce, rather than protecting the unit as a whole. And it used to be that traditional marriage was a religious ceremony. Now you didn't have to have enforcement. So what I'm saying is that maybe it's a good idea for us to start getting the state to back off a little bit on doing enforcement for divorces and things like this.
I think you stumped us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're,
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care.
okay,
What
so you're
people do
wondering
in their bedroom.
why that ties
So-
in. You're wondering how that ties in. Let me explain. We have a big issue socially with conservatives not appreciating gay marriage, right? Okay, so the reason that they don't, though, is because they believe that the institution was wrecked. It was destroyed. And yet, if you got the government out of licensing the institution, you solve the problem on both fronts. One, gays can get married wherever they feel like getting married without any problem from anybody. because all you have to do is just say, well, I don't recognize the marriage, the same as they could with yours. And then the same thing happens for heterosexual couples too. So essentially, you get the government out of the business of saying what's a valid marriage and what isn't.
So wait, my question. Okay, so are you saying that without the marriage license, there's not any legal ties to each other? Like with
there's no need to make legal validation for a religious ceremony.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And so if you got the legal validation, out of the way, you solve the problem both ways.
Okay, so can I ask you something then?
Yeah.
So if somebody is, LGBTQ, and they want to get married in a church, are you saying that wouldn't be allowed anymore?
No, I'm saying that I wouldn't recognize them personally as being married, but it wouldn't really matter what I recognized or didn't recognize. I don't recognize the marriage as being valid right now, even though it's state sponsored. What I'm saying, though, is that it takes the state out of saying what's appropriate and what isn't, and it takes the fangs out of the right wing saying that you have essentially destroyed the institution, because the only thing that gives the institution validation is the certification from the state.
And then how does that work with children and
I'll be right back.
It would work the exact same way. If you decide you have a valid marriage, you decide you have a valid marriage. The state was never traditionally involved in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look more into that. I'm not really following completely, but
Okay, well, it's something to think about.
I just wish
It's
they
a
would
huge-
leave Jack Phillips alone and stop
It's
making
a
them bake
huge-
cakes.
Yeah, it's a huge revamp from what people are used to, but sometimes you got to take drastic measures for things.
Interesting.
I'm trying to look at ways everybody wins.
Okay. That's interesting. Todd?
Yeah, I got nothing. Like I said, just leave Jack Phillips alone. Stop trying to make. He's already went to the Supreme Court. Stop
Who's
trying
Jack
to make.
Phillips?
He's the baker in Colorado that
Yeah.
people keep trying to make it trying to use government force to make him bake a cake he's not comfortable baking. It would be like making a black person bake a Confederate cake or making a Jew bake swastika cakes. So I don't understand it. Just
No,
leave the man alone.
Don't think that's a.
I think it's exactly the same. It's against he doesn't discriminate against the LGBT. He doesn't say I won't not serve you. He just doesn't want to make the cake for the wedding. He'll make the cake. He just don't want to decorate it and put Bill and Bill. Okay, so again, he's even willing to give you the cake and you can have someone else decorate it. The point is, he already went through the Supreme Court and we're back at it again, trying to use governmental force to make him do something he doesn't want to do. So that's all. But anyway.
Hey, Todd, let me ask you something, because I was thinking about that issue the other day.
Go ahead.
So my perspective is that incentives work one way or they work the other. Isn't telling people that you can't discriminate against whoever your clientele is basically incentivizing people who are bigots to lie?
And here's for me as a capitalist, I would bake the cake because I would want to make the money. Okay, I'm like you. I believe marriage is man and woman, but I also don't care what people do in their bedroom either. That's the libertarian in me too. But traditionally, that's how marriage was. But again, if people want to go get married, I don't care. I don't care what anybody does. But like I said, would I still bake the cake? Sure, because I would want to make the money on it. But again, he's not comfortable, so leave that man alone. Is what I'm saying.
But doesn't it just incentivize people like him to lie? They could just be like, hey, man, I'm not going to buy the cake, or I'm not going to make the cake because I don't have the right batter. Sorry. And they're still discriminating. They're just lying about it now.
I totally, exactly. I don't know, but like I said, he's going back through it again after he's already went to the Supreme Court of the U.S. I think they ruled 7-2 that he doesn't have to. I know the Colorado Supreme Court ruled in his favor and the U.S. Supreme Court, but I don't know what the decision was in the U.S. Supreme Court. So,
wait, what do you mean? Todd, what do you mean he's going back at it again? What?
Somebody is now trying to force him again to bake a cake that he's not comfortable
guy?
baking. I don't know. No, I'm sure it's somebody else. This is where the politics of personal destruction come in, which is the left is great at it. The right does it too. So I'm not saying it's unique to one side, but you guys
less so.
love very much. Yeah, 90% less. But again, So anyway, so you don't agree with him, so we're just going to ruin him. We're going to ruin his bakery. We're going to come at him because going to court's not cheap. I'm sure before the Supreme Court, and I'm sure it probably cost him $500,000 to defend that case, and all local, federal, state, all the courts that he went to. So again, like you said, just leave him alone. But again, we're back at it. So. I would bake the cake, but like I said, only because I would want to make the money.
Okay.
So,
I think it's interesting that, so many of the issues that a lot of, Trump supporters probably and a lot of progressive agree on. And it's weird to me that how like these social issues get in the way of any kind of progress being able to happen.
It's a divide and conquer mentality.
Right. Which is right. So it's the same thing. We're conditioned to it. Do you want the iPhone or do you want Android? I tell people, do you want Pepsi or Coke? So we're conditioned to have, make a choice one way or another all throughout our lives.
Well, yeah, because
you want PlayStation, Xbox, it's
a lot of, poor white people and poor black people, they have a lot in common. And, like you just said, the divide and conquer, we can't get a lot of these things done because we have been conditioned to fight each other on these things instead of, who we really should be going against. I mean, if you think about like with the 1%, if everybody else, 70% of, I think it's 7 out of 10 people live paycheck to paycheck and or below the poverty line. So imagine if those 70% were actually joining forces and getting some of these, the 3 issues that we could get. I don't know. I think it's just crazy to me. Like, I think the left can go too far sometimes with, with some of the shit. But I think where's the line between, okay, we're defending basic human rights and okay, now we're just getting too woke. Like,
well, the problem is the way I see it, is there's 2 different realities. And I fully believe that progressives 100% think that they're living in the right one and that the right believes the exact same thing. We're beyond the point of these divisive issues being hey, that person believes that way and that's okay. Right? It's not so far gone that I can't live with that. We're to the point now where we can't even agree on what's real.
Exactly.
And that's a problem that I don't know can be solved. You know what I mean? Because we tried to start this with points of agreement and we had some, but it immediately devolved into trying to figure out what's real.
Yeah, no, we, it's hard to be able to debate the facts when, you can't even agree on what's real. And like we were talking before this started, with the media and the 24-hour news cycles and then combined with social media. Honestly, like for me, I think a good thing to do would be to merge all 3 of the 24-hour networks into one and bring back a modern version of the Fairness Doctrine and Equal Times Act where, you make sure like when you're going to have an hour like of Hannity, you also have a liberal on there as well, and they're giving both sides, so you're able to get both sides from opinion shows, and then the news should maybe just be left to the local channels. But I think there's got to be something we do about the media and the way we're getting our information, because until that's fixed, there's no getting further from anything.
Well, the problem is the erosion in the public trust.
Yeah.
The erosion in public trust is high on both sides. Mm-hmm. Nobody believes the politicians and nobody believes the media. Right. There's nothing that's going to come out of right-wing media you're going to believe. And there's nothing that's going to come out of CNN that I'm going to take as gospel. I can tell you that right now. Mm-hmm. Right? So the faith, the institutional faith we have in the media that's present is at an all-time low, and in the government it's at an all-time low. Mm-hmm. So how do you breach that divide?
Yeah, well, and I think Trump has really exploited.
I think more. Oh, here we go. I got to throw the Trump thing in there. It's been around way before Trump, but we need a more informed populace on
absolutely.
all issues. So this way, Russia collusion, who you actually just this year were still spouting, doesn't happen again. So again, you can't just blame Trump for that. Trump was a victim of it.
Oh,
But look, you can't. I mean, what you're saying, Todd, you can't do that either, because the problem you have is there's a lot of people so we're sitting here, all four of us. We pay attention to politics. We pay attention to those types of things that are going on. Okay, most guys and gals, they get out of work, they want to go have a drink, they want to disconnect, and they don't give a shit. Right? They don't give a shit. Society has been made way too comfortable for people. And when it's that comfortable for people, they can literally disconnect from it with almost no consequence whatsoever. So you can't have an informed populace. We've never had an overly informed populace. That's why you have so few people making so many decisions. I don't know how you breach that either.
well, that was actually me. I wasn't paying attention to anything in politics until Trump came along. I think it's probably one of the good things that came from him is he's made everybody pay attention. Like, he's really gotten people involved, whether it's good or bad or whatever. People were not this active before him, and that, I think that's one good thing that's come from this whole dumpster fire we've dealt with. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, they were. I just think that, like I said, we actually had a PSYOP that was ran in 2000. Listen, we can go back to Smith-Munn. Remember, you and I had this argument when Obama let Smith-Munn, or they redid Smith-Munn. Propaganda was now allowed to be used in the United States. So why would we allow propaganda to be used? So what I see both sides use propaganda, whether you're watching Fox News or CNN. So I'll read both of them, and then normally they have a link to an actual government document. Then I find you got to read that yourself, because you will literally get two different stories of the same shit happening depending on what you read, and that's weird to me too.
Well, we keep focusing on problems instead of focusing on solutions. So I mean, that's the big issue, right? Is we can't figure out the solutions. Well, here's a solution that everybody can probably agree on. How about taking away the power of lobbying?
Yes.
Absolutely. Boom. Done. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a point that the right and the left can agree on, is that you want to take away the power of lobbying. The problem is figuring out the face of what that is. Right. And let me give you an example of what I mean. The NRA is a lobby. Mm-hmm. I don't want the NRA to go away.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I understand the massive damage that a lobby can do. Right. So as a point of concession, the Planned Parenthood could also be called a lobby. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if I give up the NRA being able to lobby, are you going to give up Planned Parenthood being able to lobby?
Yeah, absolutely. What does that mean?
And that lawsuit that went against the NRA had a big effect on the election this year, because the NRA normally does a lot of stuff that they could not do with that bullshit Letitia James New York lawsuit that they put against the NRA. So. But,
they did it, but the NRA did it to themselves.
I'm not a fan of the NRA, so you know what I mean. I mean, I have plenty of guns, but I'm not.
Well, they did
Wayne LaPierre, exactly. Well, exactly. No, Wayne LaPierre did a lot of that, So again, I stopped paying my dues to them a long time ago. So I used to be a card carrying member, no longer.
So if we're talking about getting money out of politics,
exactly,
right?
I would love to talk about that actually some more.
If we want to talk about getting money out of the politics, how about we actually have a public fund for people who want to run for office, and everybody gets the same amount, and that's all they get.
Yeah, and
that's all they can use.
Yeah, and airtime too on TV, so we don't have a Bloomberg or a Koch brother or a Soros or somebody coming in, and because Bloomberg literally spent probably $1.5 billion this cycle, whether it was his own personal campaign. And then he dropped $100 million in Florida alone. Just every commercial, it was a Biden commercial in South Florida, and it was like, dude, they would like repeat them, the same shit. So
yeah. And what about super PACs? We should get rid of super PACs right away.
Democrats have been trying to do this forever. I mean, in our primary, they
as you raise so much money this year. But go ahead.
Okay, let me finish. No, Democrats in our primary, they almost all of them chose to not accept money from super PACs when they're going to be doing this against people that are actually going to follow that. But with Republicans, they don't play by a certain set of rules, and you kind of have to deal with that. I mean, the thing that about Republicans that it's so frustrating is Republican voters seem to only care about stuff when it's a Democrat, the people they'll never vote for. And the only way to hold politicians accountable is if their own voters hold them accountable. They're not going to care what Democrats are saying. And Republicans don't care, likewise. But if Republican voters actually held their own elected officials to the same high standard they hold Democrats to, we would be living in a much different country. But they know they can get away with whatever they want, so they do.
So that's good, because here Rashida Tlaib just went to a conference, and anybody Jewish in here should have a problem with this. And she literally tweeted that and I forget what it is, from the rivers to the seas, which means they're going to drive all Jews from Israel into the Jordan River, or from the Jordan River into the sea. Yet she still has a positionship. When Steve King did that, the Republicans immediately took away his chairship or whatever position he had. So don't tell us about Republicans should be more.
What does that have to do with corruption?
It has to do. What do you want to talk about? Ilhan Omar and her
I don't
husband,
like,
her new.
I don't like them, though.
understand. So you got to hold your side too. So again, I hear what you're saying, but to think that one side, it's all about power. It is all about power, and both sides will
you want to let me talk, because you're not really saying much more other than what you're just.
You asked me something, and then I'm answering. So go ahead, Brittany. I don't want to mansplain. Go ahead, Brittany.
Thank you. No, I don't like the people you just mentioned. So that's
hold them accountable.
I freaking do. I always say shit when they do something. I don't like them. But I'm just saying that with Republican voters, they do not care what their elected officials do. And so they get away with freaking everything. I'm talking about corruption, though, in politics. Democrats know they could never get away with some of the shit that the Republicans do. Huh?
An example?
Well, okay, just think of all the shit that Trump has done in general, talking about pardoning his cronies, and he's talking about pardoning himself. He gets away with this shit, and he does a little bit and sees how it plays out, and he's never held accountable, so he does a little bit more, and he keeps pushing the goalpost, and it's crazy.
Obama pardoned a terrorist. It's so funny how you don't see your side, and that's what. Yes, he did. Oscar Lopez Rivera.
You're talking, okay, there's a huge difference with the way Obama pardoned people to what Trump's doing. Trump is pardoning people that are the people that were involved in shit with him, and all of his little friends and stuff. And he's preemptively pardoning people that haven't even been convicted of anything.
How about Mark Rich?
What?
You remember Mark Rich when Clinton he gave money to, I'm just saying,
didn't
so
he
to think
get a lot of shit for that?
Right, he got a lot of shit, but he still got the pardon, and he directly got money from Mark Rich.
Okay, and he
bought a pardon.
Okay, stop. He got a lot of shit for that, and I was saying that this, you're finding finding one little example of things here and there, and acting like that is an equivalence to what we're seeing with Trump. It's not.
It's exactly the same, and like you said, one bought theirs and the other one didn't. But you guys have literally tried to, again, the politics of personal destruction. So I'd pardon my whole family. Fucking A right. So I don't have an AG in New York. Zeke and I talked about this the other night. Biden's cancer initiative gave zero to cancer research. But yet that's exactly what Trump got in trouble for. Yet nobody's investigating Joe Biden's cancer research. It went all to salaries, $0 to cancer research. Now,
Trump was buying photos of himself with his
so you're okay with Biden not giving any money from his charity? I know, but I haven't. Me and Zeke even went line by line because we were trying to figure out that there's still $800,000 missing out there, and they just kept the charity open. Okay, but yet he's the president. I'll send it to you again. We don't, like I said, Zeke and I spent an hour on this. So.
You guys are talking about better thans, though. So this is my whole point is the reason that this person votes for this person is because, well, they're not a fucking Democrat, right? Or this person votes for this person because, hey, at least they're not a Republican, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we've come down to for voting. Now, look, there's a lot of people in Trump's cabinet I didn't like.
Mhm.
Okay. A lot of people in Trump's cabinet that I didn't like. I like Trump just fine. Trump gets a lot of shit. But he wasn't a politician, and he didn't start as a politician. Nobody ever had a problem with Trump until he became a politician. He was an easy target for the divide and conquer that's continuously attacked this nation. It's been so effective that this conversation really doesn't have anything to do with Trump, but you can't keep Trump from coming out of your mouth.
No,
And the
that's-
reason that happens is because he's an easy person to pick out of the crowd. He's boisterous, he's flamboyant, the whole 9 yards. But as we've gone over 100 times, his policies are fairly moderate. He's
But
just an easy boogeyman for the divide and conquer that we're looking at. What I'm talking about doing is we can eliminate all of this, all of it, by simply taking the cash away from the lobbyists, stop the lobbying, 1. 2, like Annette said, she just had a great comment up there where she said, look, there needs to be a cap that happens when people run for office, a cap on personal money that can be spent. But more than that, there needs to be some public money available to a person to run a campaign, and it needs to be equal across the board.
Andrew Yang had a proposal, I think it was, where you give Americans like election bucks or something, and then they could put that into the candidates that they want. Like I don't know what the number was or something, but it's not a bad idea. Where everyday Americans are getting the money and they're funding it. Like the money needs to be out of politics for sure.
Can I point something out to Kimberly there? She had a comment that she just put up that said Trump's divisive, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And yet one side of the political spectrum is totally united behind him. So is it Trump being divisive?
Yes.
Or is it that progressives, see Trump as a divider for people who are already divided?
No.
We were not singing Kumbaya before Trump came along. I don't know what world you guys live in where you think that was happening, because it really wasn't happening. Under Obama, we were just as divided as we are under Trump. You were just less loud about it.
No, we weren't. I didn't even know we were divided until Trump. I didn't
really
know.
were.
You guys might have thought we were divided. I didn't.
That's fine. But see, now that you just nailed it.
You're
You got
proving
hit
the
nail
point.
right on the head. Right. We thought that we were divided.
Yeah.
Right now, you guys think that we're divided.
No,
you're
we're
looking
divided.
at the divisiveness of the person from either end of the political spectrum and saying that's the reason we're divided, but it's really not.
One side was just hating on us during Obama. Like I didn't even really pay attention to it, but now it's gotten where both sides. I mean, Trump takes every single institution we've had, every single thing you could find, and he somehow makes it divisive. Like he's the most divisive figure. Like how could you even say he's not?
For progressives.
No.
For progressives.
Yeah,
He's not divisive for our side, or we wouldn't support him. We're not
fighting your
divided.
battles. He's fighting your battles against us.
Okay, let's try this again.
After 8 years of
if-
Obama doing that to conservatives.
If you agree-
Name something Obama did that was divisive.
The IRS with the Tea Party targeting the
That's
Tea
bullshit.
Party. Yes.
No, that's bullshit.
Yes.
They
Yes,
targeted liberals as well.
absolutely.
That's
Lois
not
Lerner.
Dodge.
Well, you don't ask me and tell me to shut up. Again, you
You're
ask me a
not letting me,
question. You don't like the answer.
Yeah, and you said it. You said
Slow
it.
down,
You're
guys.
not letting me respond. Is there something else you want to say? Plus, after the IRS, because that's a bullshit. That's bullshit. They went after progressive groups as well. And the IRS isn't Obama. We're talking about divisive, things that they do and say that's divisive. The IRS, that's not a divisive.
But why does it matter why one side finds them divisive? What matters is that they do. My whole point here is that if you want to stop the divisiveness, one side hating the other side based on who the president of the United States is, the only way that you can do that is to start producing candidates that both sides can agree that they like.
Yeah.
And we can't do that in a two-party system when you have people who can spend billions of dollars of their own money, be it Bloomberg or Trump.
You know what I thought might be a good idea? If for our presidential primaries, if all the candidates were in the same primary together and then the top two go to the general, maybe in the primaries, you're having to either pander to the left or pander to the right, and then it hurts them for the general. Maybe if everybody was in the same primary together, you could go for like, independents, all the different parties or whatever, and leave party name out of it completely.
You don't need to have primaries.
What do you mean?
There's no need for a primary.
How
There's
would you
never
pick-
been a need for a primary. It's just the way parties do business, but it's not necessary.
How would you pick our presidents then?
Well, you're only using the primary so that the party can figure out which candidate they want to produce.
Mhm.
Okay, you don't need to have a primary system at all. That's all where big money comes in and lobbying comes in and this and that. You can defund the entire system by getting rid of the lobbying arm that funds the system to begin with. And where we're at right now is the lobbying arm controls the world. Okay, they don't care about the law. Goldman Sachs doesn't give a shit about the law. Okay, Microsoft doesn't give a shit about the law. There's nobody who's that big and that rich who gives a flying fuck about our institutions or our law. Now, the only way that you're going to be able to change that is to stop them from being able to use their money in politics. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of Supreme Court decisions that have allowed things like super PACs to continue to lobby on behalf of politicians, even without giving their campaigns money. Nobody really wants to talk about campaign refinance on the right or the left because there's a lot of corruption there on both sides, not
The
just
left.
one.
The left does. The left has runs on this type of stuff, getting money out of politics. I mean, they're the
They've
only
never
ones.
put a candidate forward yet who's electable that the party has chosen who's running on campaign finance reforms. Why would the lobbies support that candidate? They don't. Which is why the Democrats don't put them forward in their primary or
No,
they
there were
primaries, no matter what.
Elizabeth Warren was. What are you talking about? Like
She didn't win the primary.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with Biden his campaign was on freaking life support and he won.
Biden only won the primary because that's who the lobbyists wanted to win the primary.
No, that's not true at all. Like
It's true.
His campaign was almost bankrupt. Like they were not going for him. Like the primary was a freaking disaster, and everybody just
The Democrats strategically had certain members in the primary drop out so that Biden would win the primary. That's not really disputable. The reason that happened, the reason that they dropped out strategically so that he would win the primary is because otherwise they wouldn't get funding for the DNC.
No, that's not why. They were trying to make sure to stop Bernie as well as Trump.
Look, it is why. And it's why on the right too. And it's why you got to get money out of politics in general. I don't care if you don't think that that's the reason why. They didn't strategically drop out when they were winning, okay, so that Biden would get the nomination because they just thought, well, I think he's the better candidate, when they spent the entire time trashing the guy, okay? It was all about money, and it's always all about money. Now, whether you agree with me on that or not, that's the reason that happened, you can agree that you need to get the money away so that it doesn't.
Yeah, well,
Nothing's ever going to go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
and that's when one side thinks, like you said, I know Republicans are shit and I know Democrats are shit, but when we're sitting here thinking that one side is less evil than the other, this is why nothing changes. So again, I hear you. I'm not going to argue about the incidents. We'll get into that later via text or whatever, but they both only care about power and money. I mean, that literally did happen this year. So
And
they
I'm
all
telling-
bowed.
And I'm telling you that the reason, there are corrupt Democrats and stuff, but the reason why Democrats are better is because Democrats hold Democrats to a higher standard than we hold Republicans to. Like, we are just hoping for the bare minimum with Republicans. And that's the only reason why Democrats are better, not just because they're better people, but they know they can't get away with the kind of shit that Republicans get away with.
Yeah, but who cares?
Well, you have to hold the people you vote for accountable.
No, who cares? The whole point here is it doesn't matter which side is politically worse or more corrupt. You want to solve the problem both ways. Now, you literally have to be a moron to not think that there's corruption in the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. There's corruption on both sides.
No, I agree.
Nobody's going to dispute that that's true.
Right.
If you want to solve the problem, you don't solve it by dicking around worrying about which one's worse than the other one. You solve the problem by defanging them both.
But to Brittany's point, the Democrats do try to hold our side accountable. I mean, I think a good example is Anthony Weiner.
You mean The guy who's now a massive lobbyist and a multimillionaire? What the hell?
I agree with you that the lobbying is a problem. No, I agree.
You sure held him accountable.
I'm saying, as far as our politicians go, we do try to hold them more accountable, and I feel like Republicans doubled down.
How do you hold the guy accountable by dethroning him to go make him a lobbyist, to go right back to the same people he was working with before?
We didn't make him a lobbyist. He made himself a lobbyist. Lobbying is way different. He has connections within politics. That is the fucking
Democrats.
problem. I know, but that's on both sides. That's on both fucking sides. You can't point. The lobbying is on both sides. I'm not going to let you guys sit here and say, "Oh, it's the Democrats of lobbying." It's on fucking both sides.
You're saying that only one person here is saying my side is better than your side.
I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying we tried to hold them to a higher standard.
Biden just hired 42. He just gave exemptions to 42 lobbyists. Do we want to talk about that Tony Blinken dude? I gave you in a company that literally we don't even know who the clients were, and he's a cabinet member. So we did that a couple weeks ago. So again, why don't we just say, like we're saying, let's defang it. Let's cut the head off the snake. Okay, then it can't bite you again. So that's all I'm saying.
I'm good with that.
Cool.
Let's fix these, because basically we have gone on a system where we are just hoping that they will do what's right. And I think with the past 4 years, we've learned that you can't.
Not the last 4 years, though.
Hey,
this is where I am, but it's crazy.
Stop. Seriously, stop. Okay. We've learned a lot of the flaws in our government because he's really, gone after things that no other president would ever even try. And so now we have to codify a lot of this stuff and make sure that we legislate, things so that politicians can't get away with some of the shit that they're getting with. Get money out of politics. Let's.
Yes, Annette. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. No, but we need to get rid of the corrupt. We need to change the actual system that is allowing these politicians to get away with this shit.
As you say, your side doesn't do this shit. It just baffles me.
Not to the same level.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, you're acting like this shit just happened in 2016. Then that
was like a catalyst to something much larger. It set off, Trump said he was coming in to drain the swamp, and he backed up the fucking dump truck and just dropped it off.
Swamp, pure swamp.
Now it's like nuclear waste.
It's sludge. It's what's its name? Rudy sludge.
yeah. COVID sludge. I shouldn't joke about that. That's not funny, but
no. Well, I don't know. What's your position on term limits, Andrew?
It's difficult. So from a lot of the progressive think tanks, where there are some smart progressives, that actually surprised me, but there are, and a lot of them make a good point, which is, look, our systems of government with 300 million people, they're very complex. And it's a good idea to have people who are well versed in them if they're going to be in them. And so by putting in term limits, it's not always necessarily a good thing, because then people don't understand how the levers of government actually work. Now, I don't have any difficulty believing that, because Trump went in to the highest office in the land and he really didn't understand how the levers worked at all. Right. And I don't think any of us would. I think that you have to be inside of that political circle for X amount of time before you really start to understand and it starts to click. It's no different than anything. If you go start a new job in a skilled trade tomorrow, how good are you going to be day one versus if you've been at it for 20 years? So I understand that point. The other problem with it, though, on the other side, is that it breeds massive corruption. The longer that you're in office, the more corrupt you tend to become. It's that old adage of absolute power breeds absolute corruption, right?
Mitch McConnell.
It's not how the saying goes, but it's like that, right? Mm-hmm. So what do? Well, with presidents, they were like, look, let's term limit them out at 8 years. But you got to remember that that's a new thing. That was not traditionally how our Constitution was set up to do things. So I don't necessarily think term limits are a great idea, but I do think that they won't be necessary if you take away the monetary arm that enables them to have that type of power to begin with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like.
So I don't want a politician who's a good politician, who's really repping the people for 30 plus years, and he's doing a great job, to necessarily get booted because he's just at the end of his limit, right? Or even in 4 years or 8 years. I want to take away the mechanisms that allow them to feed the swamp,
Right.
as it were.
Like for me, when people use the experience argument, I mean, I understand it, but I think also you can you can have different positions in government. You can be a state legislator, you can be a mayor, you can be a governor, you can if you're not going to be able to be in one position your entire career, you can, and that might give you also a better understanding on the way our system works, because every position it does something completely different, and they all intertwine and might help people understand it better if they're having to
That's fine, but just look at it at the corporate level. It doesn't work so well, right? If you want to specialize, you specialize in one thing. You don't specialize in multiple things. So you don't start in a corporation, at one level and continuously bounce between jobs and become very effective in any individual job. And that's what the argument really is. And it's really difficult for me to disagree with that, because it kind of goes against natural law and what you can see with your own eyeballs, right? The problem is the mechanisms that allow it to begin with, right? This type of money was never available to private individuals from public entities until they recognized that they could use the private individuals. They could give them a small amount of money for huge amounts of gains, right? So from a corporation's standpoint, it makes total sense to do that, right? The corporation's doing what it's supposed to do for its shareholders. It's investing in a singular entity, which costs it very little money, and getting massive kickbacks, which makes its shareholders much richer, right? It's just smart business. It's smart business. If you take those mechanisms away, what's their incentive to invest in the politician? There isn't any. It's really that simple. It's no more complex than that. So if you take away the levers that allow this behavior to occur, you don't have to modify the behavior. It's already modified.
Right. And like Citizens United, I'm guessing you oppose Citizens United then.
It wasn't a good idea. It wasn't a good idea.
Okay.
It wasn't a good idea to form super PACs. It's not a good idea. Now, you can argue whether or not it's constitutional. Okay, that's a different argument. But I don't think it was a good idea to do.
Yeah. I mean, you seem to have like some progressive views. I mean, we started this thing with trying to find things that we agree on, and I feel like there are quite a few things we do agree on.
As I've said a million times, the divergence comes in the form of social issues.
Yeah.
Which I believe that gap can be closed, but it can only be closed if you take the levers of power and give them back to the citizenry. Because I think the average liberal and the average conservative sitting across the table don't really have day-to-day issues with each other. Right. We have broad scale issues over how society is affected by social issues.
So I actually have a question. Okay. So whenever we talk about some of these economic things, we talk about, we then get accused of being socialist. So like a lot of the things, the economic stuff like healthcare and all those things, we probably do agree on. But then if we push these things, now we're being called socialist. So I have a hard time figuring out what that, where that divide is, or how to draw that line where you're able to talk about these things. Because, I think Tucker Carlson does this stuff a lot, like where he'll kind of say certain things that seem somewhat progressive, but then he's, like full-blown white nationalist, so that doesn't work. But that's the confusion I have, though, is being able to talk about some of these issues without being then called like a commie or whatever.
Well, how do we talk about issues of race without being called white
Yeah,
nationalists?
as you just did to Tucker Carlson. So that's
Yes.
funny. Okay.
So the thing is that that's part of the divisiveness that I don't even think would exist if it wasn't being promoted through monetary interests that are interested in keeping those divisive tactics alive and well. You got to remember, conflict is very, very good for corporate infrastructure. It's very good for us to be in conflict with each other instead of in conflict with these power mechanisms that exist that are based on our money, right? We're paying these motherfuckers to do this to us. You know what I mean? They're using our money to do it. You can get by 90% of this. Like, look at what you just said, right? It's a talking point. It's a talking point. It was fed to you. And talking points are fed to people every single day, and they get ingrained in your psyche. They get ingrained in your mind, and you can't even talk about issues without them coming up, no matter what. And that's part of the mechanism that exists, solely 100% due to tactical corporate spending. I mean, it's just true. It's really only due to that. We didn't have we weren't talking about issues like this in 1920. Right. We weren't talking about issues like this in 1840.
So we should go back to 1920.
Where you have, what's that?
So we should go back to 1920. Basically, the equivalence there is
what the fuck are you talking? Look, that has nothing to do with anything. I'm telling you that the reason we weren't talking about issues like this because they weren't issues among normal, regular people. Normal, regular people could pretty much agree on most everything because there is only one reality, and what's real is what's real. The problem,
1920, like the way our society was at that point in 1840, even more so, it was here's white people, especially white men, and then here's everybody else.
So what?
Again,
so I don't think that's a fair comparison to make.
I'm not making a comparison. I'm telling you how it was. There's no comparison. Okay? That's how things just were. It wasn't divided like it is right now. Not until you got to the Civil War. And that was a single issue. A single issue was the entire dividing line. And that all came from corporate money too. All of it. All of that came from corporate money. So I'm telling you again, is if you want to get the levers of this divisiveness away, what is it? I mean, for instance, what do you care that your neighbor says, I only want to live around white people? Why do you give a shit? Doesn't affect you. And if you have an immigration policy cap, what do you care about that for either? That doesn't actually affect you one way or the other.
Wasn't that the same thing about gays, though?
So what? So what if somebody says I don't want to live around gay people?
No, but like I'm saying, like we've used that argument on you quite often, actually, that it doesn't really affect you, but you seem to. I mean, honestly, again, I think a lot of this.
You're right. It doesn't affect me, and I don't take any action that's actionable about it, except to give you my personal opinion about what I think about the behavior. But I don't do anything to anybody. Okay. I'm not out voting for anything that is adverse. I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah, and I honestly think that one of the big things, and I mean, maybe this needs to come before any other changes, is the way we are consuming our media and stuff. Because until the American people can be trusted if they're properly informed and not being influenced. And it's all just opinion stuff. And I mean, I've said this a billion times, but I really think that's the only way to get past it, because we are all consuming so much propaganda. And it's like, I don't know, 2008 was when, when Facebook, the number of followers skyrocketed. And that seems to be where all the division kind of really stems from.
Yeah, but again, why do we give a fuck about any of that? Why don't we just focus on the thing that will solve that problem altogether, outright? It solves it at its root. You know what I mean? Make sure that Facebook can't lobby, and you're not going to have a big problem with Facebook anymore. It's really that simple, because then consumerism will determine what happens with Facebook. Okay? Eliminate their lobby, and then you don't have the same issue.
No, I agree.
Uh,
Corporations.
Can you build more on that? I don't know what you mean. Like ending the Facebook lobby.
He's talking about lobbying in general.
Oh, okay.
Well, not just, I mean, if you want to take Facebook specifically, Facebook argues both ways that they're both a publisher and not a publisher. This way, they can't be held liable for some things that a publisher would be held liable for, and they can't be held liable for other things. They can argue that both ways in court, okay, and get away with it. Now, for some reason, tech companies and tech monopolies have been able to significantly divide the way information is disseminated to the public, and they do that through government smokescreen. Now, if you don't think so, then you need to tell me why it is that these monopolies exist without governments breaking them up in the first place. Because monopolies are illegal last time I checked.
No, it's not illegal to have a monopoly. It's only illegal to try to maintain your monopoly without economic forces that are, natural economic forces. That's when you have like an antitrust.
It seems like a meritless distinction. Okay, it just seems like such a.
So Apple's a good example. People just like Apple phones, so they have pretty much. I wouldn't call it a monopoly, but they're not doing anything deliberately to have that market power. They just have it because they have this product that people want.
So you're saying Apple doesn't lobby?
I'm not sure if they lobby or not. I'm sure they do.
Well, then why would you say? Then why would you say they just have it? Why would you say then, if you don't even know if they're a lobby, why would you waste your time in the same breath saying, but you don't know if they lobby? People just like their phones. That's why they exist. It has nothing to do with the government.
Anything to do with lobbying.
You don't know if they're a lobby or not. Why would they lobby if they didn't need the government for something?
I mean, what they're lobbying for has nothing to do with consumerism, though. They're probably lobbying.
Why would they lobby
cheaper
something
tariffs?
that had? Let me get this right. You think their lobbying has nothing to do with their primary business model of consumerism? And why would a corporation do that again?
Wait, repeat what you said. I was reading a comment. I'm sorry.
Why would a corporation lobby the government unless it was of benefit to the corporation to do so?
Absolutely. I mean, that's how the world.
So if they're lobbying,
but it has nothing to do with what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to have probably less taxes, more incentives, things like that. It has nothing to do with the product that people buy. That has nothing to do with their monopoly power.
Some of those products may not have been able to have been developed without that type of incentives being offered from the federal government.
But let me flip this on its head then.
It has a direct.
So if we were a nationalist society and we had these iPhones made in America, they would cost $10,000. But you guys want to have this nationalist.
Why would they cost $10,000? The Model T didn't cost any more than a brand new Ford truck off the line does right now.
Okay, so you're telling me the manufacturing costs of building these in America would be equivalent to us having them manufactured in China, where they have essentially no labor laws.
If we had sound monetary policy, I can guarantee you that that's true.
Okay.
I can assure you that that's true if we had sound monetary policy. What we're dealing with right now is a hyperinflated dollar. Okay, there's a reason that a Butterfinger used to cost a dime and now it costs $1.50. That has to do with inflation. And when your money's hyperinflated, the cost of everything has to be outsourced to cheap labor. That's how that works. You're never going to get sound monetary policy unless you get monetary policy out of government, period. Government's not supposed to have anything to do with monetary policy. Congress is supposed to coin our money, not the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, I know. The Fed is supposed to be completely independent. I know that. I'm not opposed to ending the Fed.
Well, then who coins the money?
Shit, I don't know. It's something we'd have to figure out.
Congress coins it. That's what the Constitution says. The Congress's job is to coin the money. Okay, so if you get rid of the Fed, monetary policy goes back to Congress. And now you've just started all over again. Now Congress can be their own lobby because they can just print as much money as they need for anything.
But that could create inflation. There should be some sort of regulation.
That's exactly what I'm saying, is that absolutely could. create inflation by allowing them to then coin the money. So you're in a
Okay.
catch-22. This is
So
a
how
big
do you-
problem.
How do you go about making this happen?
How do I go about making what happen?
Getting lobbying out. Like how do we go about actually making this happen?
Well, it's almost impossible because it would literally take an act of Congress, and congressmen are all put there by lobbyists. So
How do we fix it?
I don't know that it can be fixed because you'd have to convince Congress to restrain itself. And there's no tradition of that ever being done.
Or if
And
Republicans
admit both sides suck.
But Republicans joined us on this fight and actually demanded that our lawmakers do these things, we might be able to get it.
I'm going to tell you something that you're not going to agree with, but it doesn't make it any less true.
What?
Every single Republican could come out tomorrow, including Donald Trump, and say publicly, we want all the lobbying in the United States to end, and we want Congress to come together on a bill to do it, and it still wouldn't happen.
Demand
The
it.
Democrats still wouldn't go for it, and if the Democrats did it, the Republicans wouldn't go for it
Democrats
because
would.
they're not the true power. They're not the true levers of power.
Democrats absolutely would if Republicans would do this. Oh my God. If you guys demanded this from the people you vote for, we could get it done.
You're so naive.
That's-
It's just
No, I'm
I
the
just can't even
problem.
believe how naive you are. Listen to me. Listen, they're all put there. Goldman Sachs will give two candidates from opposing side the same amount of money. They don't
Okay.
give a shit. They're hedging their bets either way. They don't care.
Okay, but Democrats have been running on trying to do this, and I mean they're not going to stop getting this if the other side's not going to be on the same playing field. But if
Oh.
we,
Well, thank God they run on doing something about something, but
Well,
they
we
never
haven't-
do it when they get
we haven't
there.
had the power to, we haven't had Congress since 2010.
And then you
Okay,
had all three branches
you're
in,
about,
too.
but you're about to have, okay, let's just say you guys win the Senate.
Okay.
Let's say you guys win the Senate and the Georgia runoff, right?
Mhm.
And you have all three houses. How
Right.
much you want to bet me right now on this live stream that no matter how much it's demanded that lobbying cease, that it won't cease?
I really honestly believe that we would be able to get something, at least with the corruption and stuff. I think we'd be able to get something. If we
Okay,
got,
so I'll bet you $10,000 right now that if Joe Biden's seated and there's all three of the chambers are Democrat,
Mhm.
that in 4 years, the same amount of lobbying is going to be allowed as it is right now. You want to bet me?
well, I don't think we're going to get that, but I mean, no, I honestly think that we would be able to get something. Like, I mean, I don't know if it would be exactly that. I'm hoping it would be, but I believe that we would be able to get something where we get rid of some of this corruption in politics. I think that Democrats have been running on this stuff. Absolutely.
Who gives a shit what they run on? They don't pass
have the
policy
power.
about it.
We
They
haven't had
have
the power to do anything, though.
They had power under Obama to do something about
No,
it. They've
we
had
didn't.
power before
All
that to
three
do something
branches,
about
yeah.
it.
Okay, for 2 years we had that. For 2
Okay.
years. And what was the country like when Obama took over?
It's not. Look, what about Clinton? Clinton's had the power to do something about it. They've all had the
Yeah,
power
no,
to
you're
do
right.
something about it. They don't
But-
want anything done about
And
it.
I'm telling you that things have changed. Like the views have changed over time. Like progressives have been demanding this a lot more now. I mean, the far left, they is like they are a purity. There's like a purity test with them. Like it's no Democrat is like good enough. So they hold the bar really high, and Democrats know they're being pulled in that direction. That's why, like again, that's why I said that they didn't accept money from super PACs in our primary by choice because Democratic voters wouldn't allow that. Think of all the things that the Bernie people have been demanding of the voter of the people we vote for.
It just gets replaced with union money. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if a super PAC's giving them the money or not. It's irrelevant. What I'm telling you right now is think about this objectively. Do you think the people who are in Congress who literally got their campaigns funded and will again by lobbyists are going to then pass acts to limit the lobbyists that are going to fund their campaigns? That's literally stupid to think.
Yes, I think
It's
Democrats
stupid
would.
to think that that's.
I
don't
think
know what else to
Democrats
tell you.
absolutely would because the voters have been demanding it. Like a lot. I couldn't even imagine Republicans saying in their primary that they will not accept money from super PAC. That doesn't even like cross my mind. Republican voters need to demand this from the people they vote for, and we could get it done.
You know, this conversation has been fruitful for me in a way I didn't think. I did not realize, because you seem fairly informed on so many issues, but I didn't realize until just now how completely and totally naive you are when it comes to the way big boy politics works. You are so naive on this issue. I can't even hardly fathom it.
I think
Listen
Caleb,
to me again when I tell you this.
Caleb made a good point on this. So the Democratic Party has changed since 2008 because the progressives have pushed this on the Democrats. So that's why we're talking about a lot of these issues now that we weren't talking about back in 2008. We have people like AOC and Bernie Sanders as part of the platform now, and they have their message, and we have to cater to those voters. And there's a lot of people that are part of that platform that are in our party, and that's one of the issues that they're wanting.
And they take money from lobbyists too.
It's the illusion of choice.
Right.
You got your three tokens.
Joe Biden broke records the last 2 months on, like, I think 384. We looked at this. I mean, I did share this with you. Well, okay, so how do you break a record for money and then say we don't have money? Everybody has money in politics. That's what does this.
Because
Go ahead, sorry.
Because we were going up against Republicans at that point who were flooding money. I mean, it's completely different when you're going up against people that are not going to play by the same set of rules. So yeah, you're going to we'll take money from anyone that was going to stop Trump. But then you change the system so that that both sides are forced to play by the same set of rules. We will play by a certain set of rules in our own primaries and stuff, because if a Democrat does pull this shit, they are going to be called out. It's going to be an attack ad against them, and that will backfire, and they might not win the nomination. But when you're going up against Republicans who are playing by a different set of rules, you have to accept that kind of money. But it's just not the same.
Like I said, as long as we sit here and say my party's better than yours, this is why nothing ever gets done. So
I'm just saying that we need to start holding the people we actually vote for to a high standard instead of being so concerned with the people we will never vote for. What happened?
I don't know.
Nothing. Yeah, I mean,
just to reiterate this, I need you to understand how circular this is. Okay? Because I still don't think you get it. You can't tell people who are in office because of the money that came from large donors that they then have to limit the donors that put them in office. Understand? It's like cutting your own throat. They're not ever going to do it. Not ever. Not on any side, not in any universe. And it's so naive to think for a second that they're going to.
I don't believe
government doesn't self-limit. Okay. And right now they have no incentive to cut off corporate money. What incentive do they have? Because you won't vote for them?
Yeah, the voters demanding it.
No, the low-informed voters don't give a shit. Okay. They don't care. They just go and vote for whoever has an R next to their name or whoever has a D next to their name.
But Democrats do care. This is becoming like a huge thing in the Democratic Party, getting money out of politics. I mean, especially with the far left. I mean, it's really a big thing. And a lot of these establishment Democrats are starting to see that happening.
Listen, your couple of token far left progressives like Ocasio-Cortez are like the Ron Pauls of the right wing. You have your token guys who, if everybody thought like them, sure, you could get something done. Okay. But guess what? In these big megala cities where a lot of these politicians hail from, where they have large corporate donors, and this is most of them, not some of them, most of them, including Ocasio-Cortez. Okay. You're not going to get them to cut their own throats. It's not going to happen ever. Now, they might try to cut off corporate money for the opposition. Okay, they might try to cut off corporate money and do some type of, regulations where the right wing no longer can use corporate money, but unions can still put in their money. whatever favors them for the lobbying. They might do that, but they're never in a million years going to cut off lobbying.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that if we can get, I really don't believe that. I think that Democrats would absolutely support these things and make sure that it's the same for both sides. Same thing with like gerrymandering. Yeah, we'll take advantage of the gerrymandering if we are having it, but our goal is to end it for both sides because we have to offset what the Republicans do with their gerrymandered districts. So we almost are forced to gerrymander our districts to be able to have an even playing field. That's the same thing what I'm talking about with lobbying and stuff. We almost have to be able to stay in with Republicans, but as long as we make it so both sides are playing by the same set of rules, Democrats absolutely would do that. I guarantee you.
You're wrong.
I don't think so.
And you'll see for yourself that you're wrong because money talks and bullshit walks. And let me tell you right now, the amount of money that was in this cycle is more than anything that's ever been spent before this cycle.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not going to self-limit, and they're not going to limit themselves ever. Not ever. Not in a million years. It doesn't matter what you say or do or how naively, ideologically opposed to it you might be. It's not going to happen.
I don't believe that. I believe within the next, at least the next 10 years, this is going to happen. 100%. As long as Democrats can get more power, I 100% believe this will happen.
Do you think you can name another time in history where government cuts itself off from its money supply? Because it doesn't happen. They don't do that ever. Why would you do it? It'd be like you cutting off your own money supply. Why would you do it?
It's because
there wouldn't be any point to it.
The reason why I think is because we've seen what this kind of stuff can produce with Trump. Democrats are now going to be trying to fix the flaws in the system that don't allow this to happen. We've seen all the shit that Republicans are willing to do and the fact that there are no guardrails on them, and you have to make sure this stuff is legislated so that they won't do this stuff, because we can't trust them to just follow the norms anymore. They've really fucked with us.
Again, just Republicans.
Yeah.
You don't care
In
about
her
corporate
book.
money going to Democrats?
No, I absolutely care what Democrats do, but I think
why are Democrats going to limit their own money?
because they're going to do it so that Republicans do as well. Because we know that Republicans won't do this stuff, so you have to limit it on both sides so that you can stop what's going on in the GOP.
We can move on. I'm just going to say again that that's the most naive thing that I've ever heard. Just saying.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
I do too, but I'm not.
Okay. What else?
Do you guys want to keep talking, or you want to wrap it up?
No, I'm good, man. Like you said, yeah, nothing's ever gonna change. So again, but I hope it does. But like you said, as long as we keep thinking one side's better than the other. So
I don't think it's about thinking one side's better than the other as much as it is seeing that there's issues that the left is asking to get done, and the right seems to double down on them.
As Joe Biden raised $383 million in September and had $432 million in the bank, and you're going to talk about money.
Yeah,
I know it's Trump's fault. I know it's Trump's. I know.
Why do you do that though? Like when I address something, I'll say stop. I'll say something and you just completely dismiss it like it was never even addressed. You do it with a lot of things. But what I'm saying is Democrats actually run on trying to fix flaws in the government. We believe in a functioning government. Republicans run on the evils of government and how bad it is and how corrupt it is. And so they have no incentive to actually fix the problems because they can just point to their own destruction as evidence of that theory.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up. It just encapsulates exactly what I said. So, what do you got, Andrew?
One more issue to go to, though.
Go ahead, man. Go to it. I'm good. Go ahead, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So what about my earlier proposition about an amicable divorce and division of the union?
I mean,
that seems like something that both Democrats and Republicans could get behind, and progressives and conservatives can get behind.
And how would that work?
The details would be complex, but they would not be maybe overtly complex. Right now, the dividing lines are kind of already known. The eastern seaboard and the western seaboard of the United States are progressive strongholds. The closer the states are to those seaboards, the more progressive they tend to be. Middle America tends to be more of a conservative stronghold. I think that you would probably have to divide some of the port areas up with the conservatives and some of the port areas up with the progressives. So they'd have to pick the east or the west coast, one or the other, for importation purposes. But you could amicably, I think, split the union and give people a choice on where they wanted to go for citizenship.
Well, I feel like if you were to ever do something like that, the only actual way to do it would be to completely disband the federal government, like 100%, where almost like an EU style government, where each state is now its own country. And, so then you'd have the president of California and the president, and I feel like that would be the only way to do it.
And no, I'm not suggesting a civil war. I'm suggesting the opposite of a civil war. There's a constitutional provision for splitting up the union. Okay, there is a provision to do such a thing. You can pass a new amendment, and with 2/3 of states' votes, you could split the union. It could be done. It's not a difficult thing to do, and it's probably a wise thing to do, because then you can have the progressive utopia that you want. Yeah, civil divorce. That's what I'm saying. It's a good idea. So and then see this guy Richard, right? He just can't stand that I'm not a white, that I'm not a Nazi or an Aryan Brotherhood member. So he has to bring up, just like the Confederacy. No, not like the Confederacy. That was a civil war. I'm talking about a civil splitting of the Union. That's much different than a civil war. You don't need a civil war to do that.
Yo, if you draft it up, bro, and let me know, I'll be down, bro, because I don't want, what happens. People from blue states move to red states and fuck up the red states. So, like you said, if you can figure that shit out, bro, I'm on board.
So here's the thing.
I don't think it's a good idea.
There are people
who hear it.
Here's the thing, though.
Go ahead.
Majority of the GDP is in the blue states. So what are you guys going to do about that?
Why complain then?
You guys need us.
But why? But
there's more people on welfare in the red states
than
in the blue states.
New York and California are running deficits right now. That's what's in this new.
Let me tell you.
So
there's other parts. There's other part of your equation that you constantly miss out. That progressives, when they say that, it's so absurd. Red states are the highest minority concentrated states. Okay. They're the highest minority concentrated states. If red states were allowed to have their own sound immigration policy, I don't think that their GDP averages would be as low as you seem to.
But that's hypothetical. Yeah, I mean, you're like you said, you're hedging your bets on that.
It's all hypothetical. Okay. When you look at California, the two major strongholds that progressives would have would be California and New York. Now, those are huge trade importations, large tech empires. There's a lot of tax base there, right? And there's a lot of immigrants there from south of the border, especially in California, right? Those people would naturally flock to the type of country that progressives would make, which would be a Euro-style nation, wouldn't it? It would be a very hyper-progressive Euro-style nation. The right would go with probably a more traditional version of what the United States traditionally has been.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, you're probably right.
I don't know. Well, I don't think that's going to actually happen. I think if Trump won, that might have happened. I don't think that's gonna be happening now.
Conservatives might not let Biden get seated no matter what.
That's silly.
Regardless of what happens.
Oh my God, that'd be fucking great.
You've got 80 million people in the electorate who don't believe that this guy's a legitimate president. This is insurmountable, I think. I don't know how you get past it.
That's what's so dangerous about someone like Trump ever getting into power. He knows he has that hold over his people, and he knows how crazy some of them are, and he's not responsible whatsoever with his rhetoric, and he just fuels the flames like constantly.
Yeah, okay, that's all well and good.
Really quick,
but
though,
we are where we're at.
A quick fact check. So Stacy looked up the most diverse states, and it's California, Texas, Hawaii, New Jersey, New York. So the only red
I
state
didn't
there.
say the most diverse states. I said the most heavily concentrated.
Oh, like per capita?
So, for instance, Mississippi has, I think, the highest population of blacks in the entire United States. Stacy's excellent at fact checking things I never say.
Okay.
She's got head trauma, so please excuse her for that.
Yet when we're live, it's easy for me to fact check her while she has the facts in front of her, and I'm not even looking them up. It's kind of funny. But
Yeah.
it ain't.
And that's Caleb made the point on that though. Like the reason why Mississippi has the highest percentage of African Americans is because of slavery,
Well, slavery happened a long time ago.
right?
Okay,
But
slavery was abolished over 100 years ago. There was no reason for blacks to stay except that they like living in Mississippi. There's a lot of black people who just like to live in Mississippi.
I'm sure that's maybe somewhat true. I don't know. Hey Todd, Stacy said fuck off.
Yeah. That's another trait of CTE. Random outbursts of violence. So I looked it up. I sent her information. Hopefully she'll get it looked at. I'll even pay her copay. So
You gotta try to understand too, like Caleb Gonzalez over here. Try to understand that Southern blacks aren't like Eastern and Western Seaboard blacks. It's a totally different culture.
Oh
just
my
like
God.
blacks in New Orleans, they have a totally different outlook and culture than West Coast and East Coast black culture. So to say that blacks stay in Mississippi because they like it, a lot of them stay there because they like the culture there.
Yes,
You don't think it
John.
had anything to do with economics?
What's that?
You don't think it had anything to do with economics?
I mean, sure, for some people that's true. Okay, for some people that's true.
Yeah, it's
But
hard
what
to.
I'm saying, but not. It's certainly not for everybody. They have a lot of rich history there, man. You're talking about some families who've been there for how many generations? They don't want to leave their cultural history any more than the rest of us do.
I mean, I don't think we can like say why they stay or leave. That's just assumptions. Like,
No, I think we can. I think we can reasonably say that some of them stay due to economic issues, and some of them stay due to cultural attachment to the area. Some people, they're going to stay for the same reasons everybody stays or goes from places. The same reason that in rural America, you have white families who stay in the same geographical location sometimes for 7 generations, 8 generations, without any of them ever leaving.
And I'm working
And
on
sometimes they're extremely poor.
I'm working on a black conservative that will prove this point. Hopefully he comes on with us next week. He's definitely will prove your point, Andrew. He is Justin and Brittany don't say anything to anybody else yet. But I sent him a video of some of his content. He's he's a weird bird in my book. But yeah, I think you're right. I think some people, it's the same thing with hunt. I like to hunt and fish, so and I'm black, so it's not traditionally. I'm from Philadelphia, but like you said, I've adjusted to that. So, and anyway, and tell Caleb, South Florida ain't the South, man. That shit don't count. Florida's Florida. So maybe he's from somewhere else in the South. I don't want to mislabel him, but yeah. I'm looking at comments now. You scrolling them through? I seen Todd 2024. Andrew, you got a cabinet seat. John Dugan, you're gonna bomb China for me? Yo, we're gonna do this shit. If Trump don't run, if Trump runs, then we're gonna wait till 2028. So
Well, look, let's talk about one thing that it will be interesting for everybody, which is probably the main thing on the table that nobody ever wants to talk about, which is that the most pressing problem in the United States right now isn't any of this shit we're talking about. The most pressing problem in the United States right now is that half the electorate lost faith in our government.
that happened in
No.
2016 too.
No, not like this. Not even close. It wasn't even in the same universe. Not
There's
even in the same universe.
Okay, but there's no reason other than Trump just saying it was rigged. There was nothing that, like, I mean, I honestly think that there was fraud. I just think it was for Trump, and I think that
Fine, but here's the thing. Fine. Let's yield that to you, that there was absolutely no fraud whatsoever, and let's yield to you that everything that you're saying is 100% true. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay, you have to get away from this thought process you have of thinking that the talking points matter, because they don't always matter. And in this case, it doesn't matter. Half the electorate, for whatever reason, has now lost faith in government. That's the most dangerous problem in the history of the United States ever.
That's how dictators are. Like, I think it was Bernie actually said something about, okay, if you can't trust the media, if you can't trust the institution, if you can't trust your elections, who is left to trust? A dictator.
Maybe, but traditionally, that's not how we've done things. Okay, that's not how we've done things. We haven't necessarily put all of our faith in a strong man. Okay, traditionally, we've done things a lot differently than that. And it's led to extremely brutal conflict between two ideologies. And we're at that precipice again. And now that you have, because you got to remember, if 80 million people don't believe that the election results are legitimate, they don't believe that there's law anymore. Okay? Yeah. They don't feel the need to adhere to your law. Now, let me tell you why that's such a problem for you. You guys are all big maskers. You need to wear your mask when you're out in public. You're going to get COVID-19 and you're going to kill grandma, right? For the public health purposes of just that alone, you need people to comply with the law.
Yeah, we're ungovernable.
Right, but they don't want to comply with the law.
Yeah.
And with this divide, you're not going to be able. The more Biden comes out and says comply, the less likely the other side's going to be to comply.
Yeah.
Okay, the less likely they're going to be to comply. So the problem that you have here, the most pressing problem in front of us, the biggest issue in front of us, is that conservatives don't believe this is a legitimate president. Therefore, it's not a legitimate government, and they're armed to the teeth. It's a big problem.
But do you realize that's exactly how Democrats felt in 2016? We felt that it wasn't a legitimate president, but
it's not the same.
Okay.
It's not the same.
We weren't attacked in this election, though. We were attacked in 2016. This one, I mean, Trump was claiming there was fraud when he won, too, saying that 3 million people voted illegally. Yeah, this is the problem. He's a narcissist, and his narcissist is like, it's fucking with us all. He's taking us all down with him. Like, we're having to deal with his personality disorder.
So what? Again, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter why we're here. What matters is that we are here.
And how do we fix it?
Yeah, how do you fix it?
I'm good with fixing our elections, making sure it's all paper ballot. I think the machine should be gone completely.
Yeah, okay, but that's not going to bring back faith in the government you say is elected now.
Well, why not? I feel like a lot of the things that we saw, the flaws in our government, thanks to Trump, now, yeah, we got screwed through a lot of this stuff, but now we know what to fix, and we fix it so it doesn't happen again. So maybe that is what, like we take into this as well. If they think there's all these flaws, we fix the flaws and we make sure that they don't happen again.
But that, again, is not going to bring back faith in the government that we have that exists right now, right? It's not going to bring the faith back in. 4 years of a government like that can lead to catastrophe like you can't even imagine. That's my point. Right?
I'm just glad we get to peacefully protest now. So remember, we're just peacefully protesting.
It's all just peaceful, right? We're just we're just telling you in a peaceful way while we burn everything down that we don't like the way things are going. Look, the problem.
You guys always want to talk about the damn fires, but you realize a lot of the fires were started by the right too, right? There's groups on both sides.
Burning it down is a euphemism. We're not talking about the literal fires. Okay, we're talking about the system. Okay. People trying to burn the system down. It's a euphemism for that. What I'm saying to you right now is that this problem is so catastrophically large that nobody even wants to discuss it.
No, okay? I understand it. It's called consent to the governed, right? The other side who lost has to agree. I understand totally. I'm just not going to get into it because the other side doesn't want to get it. Like you said, you're absolutely right. When you have the other side not accepting the incoming, but I look at it as turnabout is fair play. So they did it to us in 16. So I'll return the favor. But you're right, Andrew. You're absolutely right. It's dangerous. So that olive branch
It's the
you're
most-
holding out, I'm kicking it right out of her hand. Maybe I'll slap it.
Right.
I don't want.
Well,
I'll
because
just slap
because
it out.
here's the difference, man. Here's the difference, Justin. You said, "Hey, this is exactly how we felt in 2016." It's not though. The difference is that conservatives now are willing to watch the whole thing burn to the ground rather than allow this to continue.
Like the Stop the Steal rally. Like-
No, not like
This is
Look,
this is the problem, but you're actually highlighting the big problem that is going on right now. So you guys need to win the 2 seats in Georgia, and I would definitely expect you guys want the Loeffler seat because she's a Q person. So I think you guys would definitely be trying to get her elected, right? But you guys have been saying this whole thing's corrupt. It doesn't matter. It's already decided. So now you have to convince people in Georgia to actually go out and vote and tell them it's not corrupt. But the whole time you're saying that it is corrupt.
That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's not Loeffler.
Yeah,
So
that's not
please be,
Loeffler.
please be.
No.
Please be
I'm
right.
saying you guys.
She's not a Q person. So
You're
again,
right.
she's
Okay, I thought she
actually
was.
She's actually
Justin's
a swamp
right.
creature. So yeah, I don't like Loeffler. Loeffler, I know they do need to vote, but again, I would vote for Purdue. I would not vote for fucking Loeffler. So again, my vote does. I don't just vote for somebody based on the little R next to their name. But yeah, I know he's right. Yeah, but no, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene who's the Q person. So
And
But-
she's
just
in,
want to help you out before you slander
but
somebody.
that's
Oh
but
my
you
God.
just
It's a joke,
nail-
bro. Relax.
you just hit the nail on the head though, Justin. You're right. They don't trust the institutions enough to even bother voting in them. The next stage to recourse is nasty. Oh no. Oh yeah, I wouldn't cheer. It's the worst possible
I don't
scenario
give a
that
fuck
you
as long as we win.
right. That's the problem though, is that the other side now wants the whole thing to just burn rather than let you have it. They don't care.
I mean,
Okay.
it-
When people have lost everything and they have nothing to lose, they lose it. Okay. You're coming up right now. The biggest fear that you guys had was that Trump was an ideologue, right? And that people or not an ideologue, but people are ideologically behind Trump. And he's been an excellent figurehead for that, but he wasn't very effective at it. Okay. The right wing may end up getting somebody who is very effective at it. And that's a big problem for you, because if that person promotes violently overthrowing leftists, the right will do that.
Yep. We will. I mean, that's
Okay.
that's why rhetoric is so important. Like, but especially when you know who your audience is, and with that audience, it's so freaking dangerous that he's constantly like making things worse. I mean, like, it's just funny that they think that Democrats that there was some kind of like conspiracy. I mean, Democrats are not cutthroat enough to do anything like this. A lot of Democrats are freaking pushovers. You can bully them into anything. You can shame them into anything. They're not like Republicans. Whereas Republicans are showing just how cutthroat they are and the lengths that they will go to remain in power, like plotting a fucking illegal coup at this point. So I do think there was fraud. I just think that it was to help Trump. All the things they're accusing us of, I think they were doing it. And they're shocked that they didn't freaking get away with it. And I think it happened in 2016 as well.
Okay,
You
yeah,
ran
got
the
it.
coup in 2016. So when you
I got
paid
it.
for Russian disinformation and weaponized the Justice Department. So let's be clear who started.
I know
the coup.
you're dying to always have this debate. We can have it, Todd, if you want.
I'm
but
ready whenever. So again,
Yeah.
you keep ducking me. Quit
I just-
ducking me.
I just think that the reasons are irrelevant. It doesn't matter, right? Trump is not an effective figurehead. Okay, he never was an effective figurehead. The best thing you guys had going for you is how ineffective of a figurehead Trump is. He's going to get replaced with somebody who's not, because that's what we're looking for right now.
He's not going to let anybody replace him. It's going to be him forever, or his kids or something.
And his kids would be much more effective figureheads.
His psycho
Okay.
son.
Again, you have this huge problem, right? And you're giggling about it and you're laughing about it. It's like fucking Rome's on fire, the barbarians are at the gates.
Oh no,
and you
I don't
guys
think
are
it's
sitting
funny
there
at all. I
cheering.
think it's scary.
I think it's hilarious.
No, I think
Right.
it's scary.
They think think it's hilarious that half the country lost all faith in the institution of our elections.
Well, that's what
Because
happens when you have somebody making you lose faith in every institution. That's what Trump has been beating
Again,
on for
the
like.
reason- the whys are less important
No,
than
they're not.
this is what is happening right this second.
No.
And to try to explain to you what that can turn into, I don't think you have a clue.
But no, I do, and like this is exact. You're making my case for me, and like how much I was telling you why Trump is so dangerous. This is exactly why. What he's doing. It doesn't matter what his policies are. It doesn't matter like all that other bullshit. It's the person that is fucking so dangerous.
Unless he's
because it's
right.
exactly what you're saying.
Unless he's right. If he's right, then everything the right wing does from this point forward is totally justified.
On, he's not. Again, let's look into it. Let's look into all the Trump won states. I am all for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, investigate the
Well, they're not doing it.
Well, they should.
They're not telling us why they threw out all the poll workers and then pulled out bins full of ballots and started counting them.
So I
that was
actually-
lunch, Andrew. That was lunch that they bought out. That's what they came up
It's all
with
the
Friday.
Snopes fact check on it.
Yeah.
Snope-
Yeah, that was
all the
that
Snopes
was
fact
lunch.
checks.
They were
Yeah.
eating
All the
ballots.
Snopes fact
that
check
came
said
out
is
of the suitcase. It's fucking funny, dude.
So I do want to talk about something though that this kind of builds on. So Michael Flynn had suggested that Trump declare martial law and we do a revote under martial law.
good idea.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yep,
We should've
I
done that
like it.
2016.
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah,
good
I
to
love
me.
the idea.
You mean 2016 when you fucked General
We
Flynn?
should have gotten that in 2016. If there's ever going to be a
When-
revote, that's when
when-
it should have been.
When Obama said that the only two things he had to worry about was Kim Jong-un and Michael Flynn, a 33-year veteran. Yeah, that's a weird conversation. It would be nice if somebody asked Obama what he meant by that. But we'll save that for our little personal debate. You can't duck me no more.
I
So we're
won't.
going to set that up.
We'll do it.
We will
What you
do
guys
it.
what you guys should be the most terrified of
Mhm.
is that if Trump truly is a despot, okay, and he's truly at the end of his rope, and he truly thinks that the second he leaves office, he's going to get thrown to the ground by a bunch of FBI agents and led away in handcuffs, that he doesn't come out on national TV and say, this was an unconstitutional coup and I order the citizenry to take out the government. Because then you're going to have the biggest motherfucking problem on your hands that you could ever imagine. And if you
Boogaloo,
think-
baby.
If you think he's not capable of doing that, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I believe you. He's capable of all kinds of scary stuff, and that's why we needed him gone.
So while we're sitting here talking about getting money out of politics, right, there may not be a union in a month, is what I'm saying to you, right? We all smirk and we all laugh and we all giggle like this can't happen, but I didn't think the Orwellian measures could ever happen either, where I couldn't go down to my local diner and get something to eat because somebody said, hey, even though nobody's getting the disease from this local diner, we're still shutting it down anyway. I never thought that was going to happen. Nobody thought that was going to
That's not
happen, but it
Orwellian.
happened.
You can go to Walmart, you can go to Home Depot, and you can go to Home Goods. But yeah, you cannot go to the small business. Interesting how that works.
Temporary.
It's the
Right.
largest wealth grab in American history.
Yep.
It's a massive wealth grab.
The Great
And that's
Reset.
all it is. Yeah, it's a massive wealth grab. They're shutting down small businesses everywhere by doing a wealth grab like that. Okay? But you don't look, I can show you a video in California where a gal was shut down. Okay? She
I saw
spent
it. I saw it.
thousands on outdoor
Yeah.
seating, and they gave a movie company
Yeah, I saw that.
they allow I mean, come on.
Democrats would never do that.
Never.
Democrats are better.
But come on, these Orwellian measures are happening right now. People aren't going to live under them
It's
for
not
much longer. And if and
What
if-
is Orwellian about not wanting people to get sick? I don't.
the method-
It's about our hospitals not getting
that's-
overrun, though.
that's a
Which is
perfect
about to happen.
It's a perfect analogy. What you just said, Justin, it's a perfect analogy. That's exactly how the Orwellian method would work. You unite. The cause is united under some kind of common cause, right? In this case, it's a disease. In George Orwell's novel, it was continuous wars. It doesn't matter what the mechanism is for the control. In your case, you're saying, man, it's not Orwellian to shut everything down, make everyone have to wear a mask everywhere that they go, and give the government unprecedented powers at the local level to enforce these types of mandates because we have a common cause after all.
So
That's
it sounds
exactly what the Orwellian method would be.
sounds like the cause that is then your not being able to trust the elections. That sounds like what you're explaining. They're gonna unite on some common cause that's going to have your crazy dystopia. I don't
It's
know.
it's not a crazy dystopia. This if 80 okay, like the guy says 70 million, fine. If 70 million people feel like they're disenfranchised and can't trust their government, and the person they think is rightfully elected comes out and says it's a coup, what happens?
It's not even 70 million, though. That's the thing.
Well, Trump
It's
should
not
be
the
arrested if
whole
he does that.
electorate. It's a small fraction of the electorate that feels that way.
Okay, well, the entire Revolutionary War was fought with 3%.
3%ers, baby.
What I'm saying to you right now
So you're
is what happens if this guy comes out and says that? What's the response to that? You don't have one. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have one.
the response.
You're
To,
just like,
I'm sorry,
well,
I was
hope
reading the
it
comments.
doesn't happen.
So the response. No, it isn't Orwellian because think of it this way. What Brittany said. If we had so many people get sick, which this is actually about to happen, and so this is what doctors and scientists were saying. They were saying if we have so many people get this virus, especially around flu season, hospitals will be overwhelmed and we won't have enough hospital beds to care for the sick. And that's what's about to happen. We're almost to that point where we will not have enough hospital beds, and they're going to have to turn people away based on their age, their health. Oh, like if you have cancer and you get COVID, oh, guess what? You don't have a bed.
Yeah,
Because you know what? This person that doesn't have any diseases, well, they have COVID, so they have a better chance of survival, so they get a bed.
So
the movie
What?
company set up tables. They're allowed to do it because Garcetti said it, but yet the individual business who has tables outside could not do it. Why don't you see that they're both the same shit? If the movie company's allowed to have tables outside, why is not the small business? I don't
No,
get
that's a
what you
good point. I'll
Right,
take that.
yeah, exactly. So that's what we were talking about initially. The video. Tell Caleb seatbelt laws only protect the person in the car. They don't protect the person you run over with the car. Anyway, I've seen his comment. I'm actually looking at comments. This reminds me why I don't look at comments. Anyway, so yeah, but again, you're missing what and I said this the other day. What if Trump really is this fascist you talk about? And they use that, and him and Biden are working together to bring about this new world order. Again, I don't think that's the truth. I trust Trump, but again, what if? What if if that time comes and he's right, 3%, and I think 3% is 2.5 million people of 72 million. I think I did the math the other day. So if you have 2.5 armed to the teeth, who've actually been arming, and while you guys were buying toilet paper, they were buying ammo. I mean, what happens then? What's the plan?
So
well, it would only be the largest military ever fielded in the history of mankind.
I'm aware of it, Andrew.
It's
I've thought about it.
No, it's crazy to me. Like, over somebody is just like so generic and middle of the road as Biden, that this is like the kind of response that people are having. I mean, it's fucking nuts to me. Like, I can't, like, maybe if it was somebody more extreme that embodied all the things you guys fear, but I mean, this guy is so generic. He's just gonna coast us to the next election. That's it. Like, it's so ridiculous.
It's got nothing to do with Biden, though. You keep on missing the broader point. It doesn't have anything to do with Biden. You could have inserted any asshole progressive that you want in there.
No.
It wouldn't have made a difference. Okay. The problem is that the electorate has lost faith.
Thanks to Trump.
Okay, fine. Thanks to Trump. But regardless of the reason, if Trump is right, if Trump is right, then, I mean, you kind of have every cause in the world to do it. That's one. But two, even if Trump is wrong, you still have the problem of people still think he's right, and they've lost their faith in the electorate. It's a major issue that needs to be dealt with. Biden isn't the guy who's going to be able to deal with it. Biden comes out with stupid tweets that say it's time to unify. Come on, get fucking real. Time to unify. We're not anywhere near a time of unification. Not even close. All right. And we all know that this is true. So what I'm saying here is like to Justin's point, right? You have guys like me who go, so what? You got hospital beds that are overflowing with people who have a disease they're most likely going to recover from. So fucking what? Who cares? You don't shut down the entire country or even your local economy over that. That's just retarded, right? And then on the other side of the fence, they go, because we need to save a couple of people's lives.
It's not
It's
a
like,
couple
no.
of people. We're talking about, oh my God, we're talking about thousands of people.
Who cares?
If
Who
you could
cares if
prevent
we're
9/11, would you?
Who cares if you were talking about 35% of the entire population of the United States? We have rights. You cannot go in and shut down everybody's business. You cannot go in and make mandates that they wear a certain thing because it's patriotic. You can't do that shit. Okay? That's fundamentally against the American code. It's also fundamentally against a freeman's code.
It's a fucking mask. Like, all you have to do is wear a mask. If everybody just wore masks,
So crazy.
And all you have to do is not try to make me
stay
wear one.
open. People
And
can
if
go
all
about
you
their
did-
lives. It's just
and
a
if all-
fucking mask.
Right. And if all you did was not try to make me wear a mask, then we wouldn't have a problem either. Right? So the
I
thing
don't get
is,
it.
like,
I don't get what the problem is. It's a piece of cloth that goes over your face.
What
So-
about the
so-
neck covering too, which does absolutely fuck all no good?
Nothing.
You can spit through it. You can exactly, which is what I wore to
wear
the
a t-shirt
hospital the
around the
other day.
face.
Exactly, which is what I wore to the hospital. It's about compliance, but again, I believe Ben Franklin said something about safety over freedom. But some people are willing to give up their freedom to appear safe. This is a problem that's been going on for many years. So again, I hear you. I wear mine because I have to, but I wear the neck covering, and it's a fucking worthless piece of rag that you can literally see through. Fluids will go through. So again, I don't know how that's
Hey,
saving
back up.
anybody.
back up to Caleb's comment.
Oh,
Which
don't
one?
even address it.
He says, fuck everybody else. Yeah, there you go. Nope, Andrew would not. He would let people die. Fuck them. He has his. That's right. That's right, motherfucker. I got everything
Yes.
I had through the sweat of my brow and my own two hands, and fuck you. If you die from the coronavirus, I don't give a fuck. You don't get to put a mask on my face.
So unity, yeah.
Well, after 4 years of, I mean, like I said, it's funny. We had people not go to the inauguration and shit, so you can't sit here and act like
What
we
does
bought
that
it.
have to do
What
with
about
anything?
what about Maxine Waters getting Trump supporters' faces? What about Sarah Sanders eating with her family and getting spit on and kicked out of a restaurant? Yo, you don't get to have it both ways. So
Well,
again,
okay,
take your unity,
This
and you know
isn't
what you can do with it. What
all
about-
of that stuff was in response to Trump and his behavior.
Right.
Biden has done nothing to warrant any kind of crazy reaction.
Right.
So
I
it's
would
not
take
the
him out
same.
back. What about I take him out back and I beat him up? Listen,
What are
you
you
can't
talking
have Joe Biden saying I would take Trump out behind the locker room and beat
Right.
him up. Right. You forget about this shit. It's so funny. But you think your side
So
is above the
he
other
makes a
side.
couple comments, and all of a sudden, that warrants this kind of reaction. Trump has
Yeah.
tormented us for 4 years.
I guess.
I mean,
Tormented
we've been the abused one
Tormented
here, and you
you.
guys are trying to act like you're the victim.
He's tormented you, much
No,
to our
we're just
amusement.
telling
He's
you to take
tormented
that-
progressives.
He's
right. We're
tormented all of us. He's
we're telling
tormented this
you-
country
No.
to the point that you're talking about. We're at this point because of him.
We've made more money under Trump than under any other
Who
president.
cares? Who cares if he's going to tear this country apart and end America? He's not worth it.
But
I don't
look
know.
at who he's dividing it between. What do I care if it
Everyone.
hurts his feelings? What do I care if a guy like Caleb says, but you're going to kill the poor old lady down the street because you're not wearing your mask? I don't give a fuck. I'm a free man. I can do whatever the fuck I want. That's how this country works. This country doesn't work around you putting a mask on my face in order to get me to comply with your bullshit.
You have to wear a seatbelt, though.
No, you don't have to wear a seatbelt.
Or
You
get
don't
a
have to
ticket.
fucking comply with that either.
You'll get a ticket if you don't.
There's
So?
consequences.
So that's exactly what would I mean, you're not even getting
and the
tickets right now.
seatbelt doesn't protect the person you run over with your car.
Okay,
Okay. There you go.
but you
So-
still have to wear it.
And it does. And if I have my seatbelt on and I run over fucking 3 people
Yeah,
on
you
the
get that 4
sidewalk,
times.
okay, right. So
Well,
the
right,
3
but
people
that's your
still die.
argument for masks.
The 3
argument for
people
masks-
still die.
The argument for masks so convenient. It's so convenient. The argument, hey, this mask isn't going to stop you from getting the coronavirus, but you still don't have a choice but to wear it because this is how it spreads.
Well, they
See,
said
you're a
if 2
spreader.
people, they said if 2 people are wearing a mask, it will like reduce it to I think 72% or something.
Yeah. And
That's
if you
what-
keep the 6 feet
Right.
between
Yeah, you
people.
add Yeah, you add all these measures in.
And
Wash
you
your
can only
hands.
have 10 people, but not 11 people, because 11 people will cause an outbreak. But 10
Right.
people is okay. And you can go eat dinner with a bunch of lobbyists inside, not wearing your mask if you're Gavin Newsom.
Yeah,
And there's a
he
whole
shouldn't have
long
done that.
list of people. There's
He
a
shouldn't have
whole
done
long
that.
list of people. Right, exactly. Thank you. So either he thinks that you're full of shit or it's not that big a deal. I don't know which one he thinks, but either way, it doesn't give the appearance when people are out to eat and they're not wearing masks and shit, and then they're telling us we got to do this. Garcetti is shutting people's power off in
Okay,
fucking Los
I don't know where you
Angeles.
guys are getting that from. I have not. I mean,
Oh my God, he said it. I'll send you the quote.
yeah, send me
again.
that because
I'll send it to
I
you
haven't heard
via
anything
text.
about that.
I'll send it to you via text when we're
Okay.
done here. I'll sauce it as I always do because I don't say
Mm.
shit that. Yeah, no, I do. I actually sent Justin. Did I not email you the thing earlier? Go in your emails because I emailed Justin something earlier on shit we were talking about. I don't just say shit. Again, you might not like the shit I'm saying, but I don't just make shit up, pull it out of my ass. But
I never
again,
said you did.
no, you just said you didn't know where I got the Garcetti
Yeah.
quote from. Okay, I'll send it to you.
Okay,
Good. I'll sauce it. You know I sauce everything.
sauce it.
I will. It'll be saucy.
Saucy.
Yeah.
Well,
You guys do realize too, you're not going to be able to stop this pandemic no matter what, right? You're just not going to be able to. So just like Pfizer says, hey, even after you get the vaccine, you still got to wear your mask because you can still spread it. How fucking retarded is that?
no, that's not what they're saying. They're saying like it's going to take a while for us to be able to distribute the vaccine.
No.
So for a while, you're going to have to wear a mask. And I think that it takes like 2 doses or something. for
No,
the vaccine.
that is not what the president said. The president of Pfizer said that even if you're vaccinated, you could still spread the disease.
You'll have to show me that. I haven't heard that.
I'll show it to you right now.
Okay.
Yup. And the Power, Justin just sent you the Power article. So again,
Did you send it to me? Because I was the one who
it
asked.
will be coming. It'll be coming, but we're on the show. Relax. I got you.
Shut up.
So.
Yeah. So how much longer do you guys want to do this for?
Yeah, we can shut it. Yeah, we can wrap it up. Ask Andrew because Andrew, I genuinely enjoy having him on. So.
Yeah. So if you have something else, if anybody has anything else, bring it. If not, let's wrap it up.
You still haven't addressed at all why it is you think you deserve to make me wear fucking anything.
I think I did because it saves lives, and it would drastically improve the burden on healthcare.
Yeah, it's the healthcare workers we have to really think about. Like, I mean, that's why a lot of these shutdowns are, if, hospital beds, ICU beds fall below a certain rank, like 15%. So, I mean, we're really, and think about how these hospitals are being overrun, and that's with all the measures we've been putting in place. Imagine if we did none of these measures, how crazy it would be.
It'd be the same.
No,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah. Because there's places that haven't locked down at all. They're no worse than some places
more
that
spread
have.
out.
So it could easily be this. There's no way to know. Now, these people in the comments are all talking about whataboutisms. That's a whataboutism. What if we hadn't shut down? Well, you can't say that the way that you stamped out the fire was good when you have no reference point. Okay? You have no reference point. We don't know what would happen if we hadn't shut the United States down from COVID-19. We have no clue, except to say the couple things we know for sure that wouldn't have happened. We know what wouldn't have happened is we wouldn't have 1/3 of all American small businesses out of business right now. We know for sure that wouldn't have happened. We don't even know what the long-term economic impacts of that are. We don't know how many people have killed themselves over the shutdowns and the mandatory lockdowns. We don't know how much sexual assault's gone up. We don't know how much divorce has gone up. We don't know anything about how many unintended consequences came from these shutdowns to save grandma. Okay, we have no clue. None. And so you run around saying that this is the prescription, this is the cure, right? But there's no frame of reference. We don't know what the cure is, and we don't know if the cure is worse than the disease.
Andrew, again, we might not have had to have these shutdowns if you did simple things like wearing a mask and like took the proper precautions. But when you don't do that, you're showing us like that you guys are doing like not wearing a mask on purpose. Nobody's acting responsibly, and we're all to suffer as a result.
Everybody's wearing them, and it doesn't matter. It's still spreading. You still have to wear them to go into a business. You still have to wear them to go to work. You have to wear them fucking everywhere. And it's not stopping the spread. It's
People
not
are at
stopping.
home and doing and
Because you can't stop a virus.
You
That's why
can't
61
stop.
million people had swine flu in 2009
It's
in
so
America alone. So
It's so
I think-
insane to think that a virus we have no immunity from whatsoever that is spread in aerosol form, that your fucking stupid mask is going to stop and prevent people from getting it. It's ridiculous.
well,
Yeah, I like what Stacey just said. See it as a dress code. Like if you're not wearing a mask, you just don't get service.
you
Yeah.
don't already though.
No shirt, no shoes, no service.
That is
Fine.
exactly what's been happening. So where
Leave it
can
up.
you go without a mask now? I mean, you can't. There's not one
Leave it-
store that will let you in without a mask. Not one.
And leave it up to the business owner. Leave it up to the business owner. If you're at a beach, you can walk into a bistro without having a shirt on. It's fine. It's up to
or
the
if you're
business
Gavin
owner.
Newsom, if you're
And
the
Richard-
governor.
Richard has a good point too. He said the virus is having an ecological release, and until we get vaccinated and immune, we must follow the science. It's about science.
Yeah, we have the
It's not
flu
about
vaccine,
opinion,
and
it's not
people
about
still get
freedom.
the flu. You guys bend science.
We don't
Just-
bend fucking.
You
oh my
do.
God.
Who was I just talking to? There's a new and it's
Science
good
is
Caleb's
not
on here.
Science does not have opinions. It's concrete.
Okay.
You can't.
That's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard. Science
Exactly.
isn't concrete.
Science doesn't take opinions. It's you have a direct result. You have direct facts. And yes, you can run other experiments, and there's theories that can be proven wrong later. But those theories are proven right until they're proven wrong, right?
Right.
No,
Okay.
no.
They're
It's
accepted. Okay, so
It's a
what
simple
about scientific
methodology.
laws?
What's that?
What about laws? Scientific
about 'em?
laws?
What about them?
Can those be
The laws
proven
that
wrong?
you're aware of are open to interpretation. You know there's a law of gravity, but you don't know. You know that there's a force of gravity,
I feel like we already had this
Right.
discussion though.
but you don't know what causes it. So the thing is like, look, man, it doesn't. Science is limited in its methodology. What I'm telling you right now is, did your mom put you in a room with your siblings so that you would get the chicken pox?
No, I don't. I wasn't. When I had the chicken pox, I didn't have any siblings, so no.
Yeah, we did at my age. I'm 45,
Yeah.
and that was a common
we did it.
occurrence.
We did it
Exactly.
too. Okay,
Yep.
they would put me in a room. They put me in a room where other kids had chicken pox, so I would get the chicken
I
pox,
chicken
and I would
pox.
have immunity from it for the rest of my life.
Okay,
Now I'm sure
but
that scientists, and they do now, and scientists do now say, don't do that because that could be really bad for children, and it could kill the children, and it can.
you can end up with shingles later in life.
No.
Sure, but you can end up with
No.
shingles later in life
Yeah.
anyway.
Shingles, when you don't have the chicken pox as a kid, is very dangerous. Shingles, when you had the chicken pox as a kid, it's the same. It's a herpes zoster or whatever. It's the same basic virus, not the same, because I'm sure someone's going to fact check that. But yes, if you do not have the chicken pox as a kid and you catch the shingles, that shit is highly dangerous. So
No,
but-
Richard, you're wrong, because there's more gravity out in the universe than there is mass to account for it. You would know that, but you don't know shit about science. So you should just
Get
keep
'em.
your to yourself.
Get
I
'em.
feel like we had this debate last week though. This with your science.
Yeah, we did because we wanted to study the
Anyway,
science
okay,
of prayer or something like
But
that.
all that aside, back to what we were saying, just to make it nice and easy for you. Okay, conventional wisdom often overrules your scientific facts and turns out to be a better result than relying 100% on what some asshole in a lab coat who's only studied this thing for a few months, because that's how long it's been around, says.
Oh, it's
Okay?
been studied longer than a few months. I just asked China, but I don't even want to open that can of worms.
Yeah, I feel like
Studied by our scientists.
Right.
Okay. What I'm saying is, again, where we're at is we know only what the numbers say. And what the numbers say is that if I get the coronavirus, I'm 99.9% likely to recover from it.
That's right.
Okay. Very likely to have very mild symptoms. Now, I may be the guy who gets it and dies. Okay. That may happen to me. It may happen to you. You could get hit by a meteor tomorrow. You don't shut the fucking world down for what ifs. Not when you have something with a mortality rate that low. It's ridiculous.
Again, it's about the hospitals being overrun. That is like one of the main things. Like these hospitals are freaking, they're at capacity. They don't have the staff. They don't have the beds. I mean, it's crazy.
I was just at a hospital Thursday. No problems.
Very few places and isolated incidences. I can go down to my local hospital right here, and the ER is completely vacant.
Yeah,
Right?
you probably live in a town with not.
I live in Palm Beach County, and I was just at a hospital Thursday, and there's nobody there. Again, and I drove through for my Rona test, and it took 15 minutes, start to finish.
Right.
So,
I don't know about your.
well,
hospital.
I know it's Palm Beach County, so don't try to say it's some small place. I mean,
I'm saying I don't know how your hospital is like.
Well, we're just
I
saying.
just told you.
Now, true, that's all anecdotal. It's all anecdotal evidence, okay?
Mhm.
But anecdotal evidence right now seems to me to be more reliable than the evidence that I hear from scientists day in and day out, which is ever changing. I have no idea what's coming. What I do know,
Amanda, he doesn't care.
no, that's right. That's right. I don't need to mitigate my life because you can't protect your grandma. Okay, keep your grandma at home if you're worried about your grandma dying from the coronavirus. It's really simple. Okay, it's the same thing with kids. I don't let my kids go around children that have diseases or who live in environments where I think they're prone to them. Okay, that's what parents do. If you're worried about your grandma dying from the coronavirus, then don't let her around people until the coronavirus is gone. But the faster it works through the population, the faster it'll go away.
Because of herd immunity, right? But you realize that there's people that have gotten it and then they've gotten it again. And now that we're starting to see people that are getting it 3 times because this virus mutates faster than the flu.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. You do realize that the more a virus mutates, the less lethal it's likely to become. Just like the more contagious a virus is, the less lethal it likely is. Because if we had pathogens that were highly contagious and highly lethal, there wouldn't be a fucking human race.
Well, let's kind of figure out, like, wind this thing down. This seems like a whole nother. This could go on forever.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well-
and I just want to end on there's a new study that zinc and hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin is you're 84% less likely to be hospitalized. It's peer reviewed and it's in Science Direct. I'm going to be sending that to you guys. Good way to end because that's just another thing that was politicized. It's probably why India didn't have that many deaths. But again, have a good night, Andrew. Good talking to you, brother. Brittany, I'll be forwarding you a bunch of shit. Justin, I'll be forwarding you a bunch
Looking
of shit.
forward to it.
I'm sure you are. Anyway, Andrew,
Night.
have a good night, brother. It's always a pleasure. It's a
See you,
pleasure
man.
with all y'all, but sometimes, you know, my liberal friends, you know, we argue, but we're still friends. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
We're still friends.
I don't have any of those.
Here's my
Well-
virtual handshake, guys.
You'll learn to love us, Andrew, by the end of this. We'll grow on you.
It's like Stockholm syndrome, bro.
Okay. Same time next week.
All right,
Yup.
see you guys.
Have a good one, guys.
Night.
See ya, everybody.
Yep.
All right,
I gotta be the last one, so why don't you guys just sign off? Cause
All right, hold on. Let me do the little goodbye message.
yeah, go ahead.
There's a goodbye message.
I bet those glasses make you see better.